Scrubs together can't get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side of his best friend's ride. Oh, yeah.
Krásne ráno, dámy a páni. Už len 2 minúty a začneme. O 2 minúty sa náš program začne, dámy a páni. Je krásne vidieť vás. A snáď sa ten program o tie 2 minúty naozaj začne. A možno aj nie. Ešte raz, krásne ráno, dámy a páni. Už len o minútu sa začne program 11. výročnej konferencie BSCF. Áno, posledné koláče, posledné kávy. Vynikajúco. OK, už len 30 sekúnd do začiatku. Žiaden stres. Nie, vôbec. Áno, vpredu je kopa miest. Kávovar ako vždy nefunguje. OK. Krásne ráno, dámy a páni. Moje meno je Juraj Surma a som vašim dnešným sprievodcom na 11. výročnej konferencii BSCF provided by AmCham. A tým, že som sprievodca, tak na úvod veľmi krátke info. Dnešok je rozdelený, ako všetci viete, do 2 častí. Jedna je od teraz do 11. a táto časť bude určená hlavne na dáta, respektíve o tom, ako vnímame súčasnosť. A potom od 11:30 bude určená časť na budúcnosť, to znamená, čo robiť s našim celým sektorom, aby sme dokázali tieto naše časy, ktoré teraz prežívame a zažívame, aby sme ich dokázali zvládnuť. Čo je dôležité povedať, že najlepší obed v reštaurácii Verg je až o 1:00 a potom po 1:00 nás čaká ešte časť, ktorá je workshopová, ktorá je určená pre tých, ktorí sa registrovali na workshop s názvom Akým spôsobom prežiť prostredníctvom tímového koučovania časy, ktoré nás čakajú. K tí, ktorí ste sa ešte nezaregistrovali, prosím, môžete sa zaregistrovať samozrejme na našej recepcii. A čo je dôležité, máte na svojich kolenách, nohách, respektíve vo vašich taškách dataset so všetkými informáciami z našej najnovšej survey, ktorú budeme za chvíľočku o nejakých 5 minút prezentovať. Prosím, nezabúdajte ich nikde na záchode, ani si ich neodkladajte, tieto informácie, pretože ich budeme neustále využívať pre všetky panelové diskusie, respektíve diskusie alebo prezentácie, ktoré budete zažívať počas nasledujúcich 4 hodín. A čo je ďalšia dôležitá vec, ktorú potrebujeme povedať, je, že tu niekde by malo svietiť teraz slajdo, QR kód, máme ho tu niekde, ak ho tu nebude, tu je. Toto je slajdo, na ktoré, keď si oskenujete s hashtagom BSCF, tak samozrejme môžete pokladať všetky otázky, ktoré potrebujete našim speakerom, respektíve panelistom. A to posledné, čo je to najdôležitejšie, myslím si, že tým, že sme súčasťou Americkej obchodnej komory, nemáme vôbec žiaden problém s angličtinou, but for those who needs to have the translation from Slovak to English and you do not have your headsets, please do contact our reception and you will be provided with the headsets with a simultaneous translation. So, is it all, Peter? If it is all, ak je to všetko, v tom prípade, dámy a páni, prosím, privítajte na pódiu výkonnú riaditeľku Americkej obchodnej komory na Slovensku, Martinu Slabejovú. A koordinátora Business Service Center Fóra Petra Rusiňáka.
Stále dobré ráno. Vážené dámy, vážení páni, dovolte mi, aby som vás v mene AmChamu srdečne privítala na konferencii venované Centram vzdelaných služieb, segmentu, ktorý je jedným z najdôležitejších pilierov slovenskej ekonomiky a toto by som vám chcela doručiť hneď ako prvý odkaz, lebo je to obrovská vec, ktorú si veľmi vážime. A vážime si, že vaša komunita je súčasťou Americkej obchodnej komory. Americká obchodná komora už viac ako 30 rokov podporuje podnikateľské prostredie na Slovensku, inovácie a hlavne podporuje dialog medzi súkromným sektorom, medzi štátnou správou a medzi akadémiou. Tento dialog je ťažký, ale je veľmi dôležitý a to, ako to robíme, je nie len prostredníctvom konferencií, ako je tá dnešná, workshopov, ale je to hlavne práca v 15 pracovných skupinách a komisiách. Toto je práca, ktorú robíme veľmi intenzívne a dennodenne a tie oblasti, vymenujem len niektoré z nich, sú právny štát. Je to oblasť pracovnoprávnej legislatívy, momentálne pripomienkujeme občiansky zákonník, equal payment, e-signature. Robíme veci v oblastiach daňových, v oblasti verejného obstarávania, insolvencie, restructuringu. Robíme legislatívu do zdravotníctva a to momentálne veľmi intenzívne. A hoci sa vám zdá, že zdravotníctvo nie je vaša oblasť, tak je, pretože sa dotýka každého jedného z nás. Robíme legislatívu o inovatívnych liekoch. Včera sme tu mali kolegov zo zdravotníctva, pána ministra, s ktorými sme 2,5 hodiny rozprávali o momentálne prebiehajúcej legislatívnej úprave novely zákona o inovatívnych liekoch, ktoré sa nás dotýkajú každého. Robíme legislatívu do vzdelávania, do ESG, do digitálu. Tá práca je veľmi aktívna, je intenzívna, je veľmi vysokoprofesionálna a my si veľmi ceníme, že vďaka vám a vašej expertíze sú naše pripomienky akceptované a príjmané verejným sektorom. Čo by som chcela ešte povedať je, že tento rok, ako viete, bol pre AmCham rokom konkurencieschopnosti. A v tejto téme chceme pokračovať aj budúci rok. Ale ja by som chcela vyzdvihnúť z tohto miesta práve vašu komunitu, ktorá je absolútnym príkladom toho, ako robiť globálnu konkurencieschopnosť. Ja neviem, že či si to vlastne vždy, každý deň, keď idete do práce, uvedomujete, ale ja by som vám to rada pripomenula, že vy ste príkladom pre nás všetkých a pre zvyšok biznisu, pretože sa vám darí uspieť v tejto globálnej konkurencieschopnosti a konkurencii a je to vďaka servisom a vysokému levelu alebo úrovni služieb, ktoré prinášate, vašemu know-how a tomu, ako pracujete s talentom. A ja si uvedomujem, že to nie je vôbec jednoduchá vec, ale rada by som práve vyzdvihla vás, ktorí ste naozaj príkladom pre nás všetkých. V AmChame sa snažíme budovať komunitu, snažíme sa advokovať, networkovať, vzdelávať sa navzájom. A prečo to robíme? Robíme to preto, aby táto naša práca bola udržateľná pre ďalšie generácie. Ja by som sa teda chcela z tohto miesta v prvom rade poďakovať za to, čo robíte, vyzdvihnúť vašu prácu, podporiť vás, aby ste boli aktívni aj smerom k nám a trošku nás tlačili do toho, choďte na tie ministerstvá, skúste vybaviť viacej, čiže my potrebujeme tú spätnú väzbu dostávať od vás. A v tejto chvíli by som už rada odovzdala slovo tomu najpovolanejšiemu v tejto oblasti, môjmu kolegovi, policy directorovi, Petrovi Rusiňákovi, ktorý sa o vás stará viac ako 10 rokov a za tomu patrí obrovská vďaka aj za zorganizovanie tejto konferencie, takže obrovský potlesk pre Peťa.
Mati, ďakujem pekne, len sa neprestanem červenať teraz chvíľku ešte. Ďakujem krásne. Dámy a páni, poznáte to, v našich centrách sme zvykli hovoriť, že tú prácu si vieme urobiť naozaj výborne. Ale očakávania rastú, každý, kto sa vo svete business center pohybujeme, tak cítime to na vlastnej koži. A to je presne ten moment, keď si poviete, že služba ako orientácia na výsledok je to, čo robí rozdiel v našom sektore. A každý, kto sa tu pohybujeme, tak to celkom silne cítime. Tá práca naša už nie je len o tom, že záväzky alebo úlohy, ktoré sme dostali, si musíme urobiť rýchlejšie, kvalitnejšie, efektívnejšie, ideálne lacnejšie. Ale je to na konci dňa o tom, že akú pridanú hodnotu dokážeme vytvoriť z tých hotových záväzkov. A ako sektor sa posúvame milovými krokmi dopredu od operatívneho KPI k tomu skutočnému impaktu, ktoré centra robia. Od nákladových centier až po centra excelencie so skutočnou hodnotou a od kvalitných procesov k takému ownershipu toho celkového výsledku. A toto už nie je cesta, respektíve toto nie je trend, je to cesta, na ktorú sme sa všetci vydali v business centrách a všetci ju intenzívne cítime. Preto sme dneska tu, ale myslím si, že vaša prítomnosť je takým tým najlepším dôkazom toho, že ten sektor je odolný. Je to sektor, o ktorý sa slovenské hospodárstvo opiera už viac ako štvrť storočie. Dnes budeme teda hovoriť o 3 magických písmenkách T. T ako trust, dôvera, T ako talent a T ako technológie, pretože toto sú 3 základné faktory nielen rastu nášho sektora, ale aj konkurencieschopnosti, o ktorej Martina hovorila. Takže ďakujeme veľmi pekne, že ste s nami. Vy ste tou komunitou, ktorá posúva aj túto krajinu dopredu a vy ste tou dlhodobou víziou aj pre Slovensko, aby sa tomu Slovensku darilo, aby sa slovenskému hospodárstvu darilo ísť tou rastovou krivkou. Nie je žiadnym tajomstvom práve to, že náš sektor prechádza silnou transformáciou. Dopady technologických zmien, globálnej politiky, prípadne zmenených štruktúr pracovnej mobility už určujú tú budúcnosť práve dneska. O tom sa budeme rozprávať. Ja sa veľmi teším, že ste s nami. Užite si dnešnú konferenciu, užite si 11. ročník a prajem vám veľmi veľa inšpirácií na dnešok. Vítajte ešte raz. Dneska by sme sa ale nemohli stretnúť práve bez tej vašej podpory, takže chcem len zdôrazniť, že BSCF komunita na Slovensku ako tretí najvýznamnejší sektor hospodárstva tvorí 41 členských organizácií. Ďakujeme každému jednému z vás za tú podporu a takisto sa z tohto pódia chcem ešte poďakovať aj touto cestou Ministerstvu práce, sociálnych vecí a rodiny a Ministerstvu hospodárstva Slovenskej republiky za záštitu, ktorú nám udelili na touto konferenciou. Užite krásny deň.
So guys, you remember I was talking about the papers which you have got on your knees, so now we are going to talk about it. Please, a warm welcome to Marek Chudík, the chairman of BSCF, who is going to provide us with all the insights which you can see in all those papers. Welcome, Marek.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to speak in English. Hopefully that's okay. I've seen that the start was in Slovak, but I guess that the majority or all of you guys speak English. So thank you very much for the welcome, special welcome to our members, but also welcome to all of the guests that are going to take part in today's presentation. I've got a very short one, 10 minutes. I've received the feedback that my last year's performance was too long, so I'm going to to shorten it up a little bit. So the topic is the annual report that I guess you will find on your chairs, that you can list through it. There's a lot of numbers. I think there's a lot of interesting information, so I'm not going to go through each single number, each slide. So I just prepared a few things that I wanted to spend a few minutes on. Oh, that's me. All right. workforce. So I'm going to start, and you will find the number maybe on a second slide. We've noticed, and I think it was the first time in over many years, 11 years since we're on the stage, but many business centers are on the stage longer than that. A modest reduction, I would say modest. Employees are down by 5%. That's 1,900 down to 35,000 employees within our members. Last year, if you remember, I called the situation stable. I think there was a marginal decrease as well, but it was nominal. This year, it's a 5%, so it's noticeable. It's not significant, it's noticeable. For many years, and I think we all know that the business of shared services is actually two forces coming against each other. One is productivity. The reason we put things in the business services is that we can be more productive, we can be more skilled, we can capitalize on the scale, we can now most recently deploy automation, we can deploy AI. So this is the first force where we can do less work with less people. So there's this productivity, constant productivity drumbeat that we've seen in all the companies where we can be more effective. That's the reason why you put things in shared services, that you can be more effective. Whether it's a 5% productivity gain, 10%, 15% productivity gain, this force is pushing down. It's been pushing down for many years, at least since I'm in my shared service center. There is other force, and that is a new investment that normally in the past year always offset the productivity gain. So we are able to attract new investments, move it, create it, move it from other locations, create new areas where haven't been tackled before. And normally those two forces over the last 10 years, there was the new investment was always the winner. Doesn't mean there were no productivity gains. There were, and pretty significant. This year, is going to be the first year where, we didn't manage, we didn't succeed as much, as leaders or as an industry to attract enough of the new investments. So that's why I'm saying productivity down, investment pushing up, but the investment didn't compensate this year for the productivity gains that we made. There were companies, and a lot of them, that actually grew pretty significantly. There were companies that didn't grow and that reduced even by more than 5%, but the net for the industry is 5% down. We did have a discussion with Lucia and with Ivan on our, regular meetings, what are the forces? I think the answers will be different to each of the companies. Are we becoming less competitive as a Slovakia? Hopefully not. Are we less attractive? Is it the increasing cost that we have here? Is it like more pressure, and specifically on the high income employees that are the skill well for all of the companies? Is it less business friendly environment, or is it just we need to do a better job? That would be my answer. We need to do a better job as leaders going forward to try to attract, to try to offset that productivity gain with the new investment. There was an interesting, I will make one more comment here. There was an interesting presentation last year, if you remember, from Ermek, saying that there will be a shift in the way the leadership is organized in our industry from more location-led to more process-led. Maybe you remember it, where we will go from location leaders rather to domain leaders or process leaders. And at least I can say I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it where more of a leadership structure is centered around silos or processes or domains or expertise area rather than locations. And that also might weaken a little bit of that location cell, of that location aspect of the work that we do. So I wanted to comment on this one. So again, the answers will differ. And again, there are companies that grew. We have or will be becoming 2 new BCS business service center for members. So I'm glad we're growing from 39 to 41. Not sure that I'm at liberty to disclose the name, so I should stay silent, huh? Okay. All right, so that's one. With all that said, I still want to say we grew the investment in dollar terms, not in headcounts terms, but in dollar terms we grew. Average salary in all our members grew by 11%, by 280, that's on a monthly basis, by 280 euros to 2,826 euros. So that's an average salary for all our 39 or 41 members for the last year. It's a pretty significant growth. It's 11% up. So even with 5% down in employment, but 11% up in salaries, you know, the overall spending, the overall investment, and so the taxes, and so the other contributions we made to the state are up. We contributed over 800 million euros of state taxes and deductions. That's a significant number, and spent over 1.1 billion euros on gross salaries. We spend more actually because, as you know, employers are contributing on top. 3% of the government income is generated by our members. I think that's pretty consistent with the last year. My last slide, in automation. So we will see a lot of numbers and a lot of statistics in the annual report on automation and AI. So this is booming. It's coming. So it used to be automation, it used to be RPA, it used to be workflow management. Now it's, you know, moving more into AI, the large language models, the generative AI, most recently the agentic AI, so like the end-to-end solution that can capture everything. A lot of the members are jumping on board. I think that the remaining ones will too as well. It is one of the factors that is going to further push the productivity and the efficiency of our members down, but it's something where we can also build a skill edge or competitive edge of all our employees and all their skills that then will be, you know, better, you know, to sell externally. Critical thinking and adaptability, I think that remain from the last year. So this is what the members are seeing as the most prevailing characteristics, you know, of people that we have in our teams. Critical thinking, because we're flooded with data, and ability to navigate the data and select that the relevant one is getting more and more difficult. And adaptability, so the stability where you work for something, for an employment that is going to be exactly the same 20 years from now is hard to get these days, you know. So a person that is more adaptable can, you know, be more lean, can do different things virtually every year, is just going to be more valuable to the company. And AI agents, I already touched on that. So in a nutshell, please do read the annual report that you have in front of you. I think there is much more numbers that I just mentioned in here. I think the industry is in a good shape. You know, we have new challenges going forward. We're a little bit down in employment, we're up in spending, but we have a lot of opportunities, specifically in the automation, in the AI era, in the AI space, and in the skills base that we accumulated over the years, and now we have an opportunity to transform it to be competitive going forward. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Marek Chudík, thank you very much for that. I have one small question for him, because now the 4 chairs has to go, you know, the transformation of the podium has to be done, so, you know, we need to have some time. So just one small question. If we meet each other within 1 year, what do you think? How our sector will look like within a year?
Yeah, I think it will be in a good shape. I do have a lot of trust going forward that once we understand, you know, the challenges that we have right now, and we will be able to address them, and we need to do a good job as leaders. I believe there's a lot of leaders in this room. You know, we will be fine, and we have an ability to grow further and to invest more in this country. But of course, you know, you will have to tackle a lot of issues, and I believe a lot of them are going to be discussed now later on, you know, today, what we need to do differently.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of things we need to do differently.
Okay, thank you very much, Marek Chudík.
Thank you.
So, why that question which I gave is that because now there will be I think most exciting conversation. Please welcome Mr. Carlos Garrido Pedras. Please join me on the stage. The CEO of AmCham. He is going to be the moderator of this discussion, which is going to talk about, and can you tell us?
Challenging times ahead. How do we secure the industry growth?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thank you very much. So, good morning, everyone. Buenos días, dobre rano. Thank you, Marek, for starting to look at the data. There is another piece of data very interesting here. That is the average age, 37.5. I was calculating, and that's exactly the age of everybody in this room. So well done with the invitations, Peter. Also, Marek was posing some questions why we see this decline in workforce. I think we have a slide that would illustrate this as well. So what is behind this? Is attractiveness of the market, is attractiveness of the industry. We know that the business service center industry in general in the world is growing. So we see growing in companies, we see growing in other countries. So why is this not happening in Slovakia? Why this growth is not captured? Is what we are going to discuss here. Probably we don't have the answers, but do we have people with opinions? So welcome on stage Christina Gall, that is the Vice President of Johnson Controls. Matt Dobricier, that is the Senior Vice President of Lenovo. And Jérôme Texier, that is the head of the Slovakia Competency Center for Orange. Good. Maybe it's good that you sit there. Yeah. Good. I anticipate to you that last night we had our dinner already very agitated on the topic. So if this is like half interesting than the dinner yesterday, we are doing good. So maybe Christina, the first question is for you because you were already on a stage, I think like 8 years ago, and you already mentioned some of the topics that we are having here, right? That the topic of automation, the topic of future decline. So other than I told you, what this data tells you?
Yeah, so basically what I said 7 years ago, it's still valid, I believe. So we are now not competing against other Eastern European countries for shared services operations. We are now competing globally, right? So we are competing with countries like India, and many of the jobs which our people used to do many years back when the shared services industry started are now fully automated. So those jobs don't exist anymore, right? So as a result of this, actually, the headcount in Slovakia in the industry is shrinking, and I think this is the second or third year of that happening. So we actually started on a maturity curve of the shared services. So as many of you know, probably all of you know, the shared services start where you would like to place some business services somewhere probably close to your current operation so that you can manage, you can have an expat maybe running the center for a few years to get the culture in there, and you start building up like very simple processes, right? Many of the centers 15, 20 years ago started like that. Afterwards, you actually grow, right? And you grow massively. So when I started in Johnson Controls, the idea was, okay, let's hire maybe 100 people in here, right? And from there, we went to 2,000, 2,500, and then down, right? Because we actually went through the maturity curve, we did a lot of the transactional work, then we automated, and to a certain point, you are able actually to offset the automations with pulling more and more new processes, right? But after a certain point of time, that you reach that peak when your automation, which is now actually increasing in pace, right, is higher than the new jobs which you are able to get. And one thing which was mentioned previously, and I fully agree with, is this is not anymore managed by centers. Maybe some are still managed by centers. My role is slightly different. So I'm still the managing director of the Slovakia Center, but my role in JCI is global. I'm the global process owner for order to cash, and my role is basically to decide, and with the help of my team, how the process will operate, which pieces of that process will be automated versus manual, and where is it best suited. Right? So I just don't oversee the center in Slovakia. I see the centers in China, in India, in Latin America, right? And these decisions are not taken only based on good general manager in that center who can actually do their job very well and present the center and make sure that the visitors come and see what is the great work which is being done. But it's also like from a global perspective, looking at like where does it make sense that this process is, and does it still make sense for this process to be done by people, or should it be fully automated?
You said that the number is 35,041. Actually, the one is Matt that joined Slovakia recently. So actually, the question is, in general, for Lenovo, why Lenovo is perceiving this region still attractive, and why you came here?
Well, thank you very much, and Dobry dzień. So my name is Matt Dobroje, and I lead our EMEA team at Lenovo. We have about 4,000, over 4,000 employees in EMEA, and 1,200 here in Slovakia. And to answer the question, I would say it a couple ways. So I had the privilege of attending our Christmas party last night, and I think it's still going, from what I know. but you know, there's something very culturally different here in Slovakia that is a very nice match with the culture of Lenovians. So Lenovo's culture is very much about passion for our customers, passion for our team, and passion for, you know, the success of our business. And unlike other sites in EMEA, I find that here in Slovakia, our team doesn't operate within silos. They very much cross-pollinate. They look for new roles within the group. They try to help other teams, and they don't really operate in silos. And culturally, having that foundation automatically makes it a perfect fit for Lenovo. So that is a very, very strong starting point culturally. The second aspect of it is we're growing like crazy. Our business grew 13% last quarter in EMEA. Our data center business, our PC business, our phone business is all growing very, very rapidly. So we need scale, and we need the ability to not only create more capacity for our business, but we need to do it in a way that you know, is synergistic, right? So having a site here that is able to not only offer shared services, but also support our sales organizations, support our marketing organizations, those are all things that help us create scale. And you know, third and most importantly is the talent we have here is absolutely amazing. The capabilities, not only in terms of business skills, but technical knowledge and just the professionalism and the ability to speak multiple languages, it's a very rare combination. So between culture, the capacity for growth, and the skills that the population has here, it is the perfect fit for Lenovo.
Thank you, Matt. Jerome, I know you are an optimist.
Yes, I think I am.
That's good. So what's the experience in Orange? You have been also one of the centers that has been stable or even growing
Yes,
in the past few years.
Yes.
What's your recipe for that?
So I would link with what you've been saying, because we've been stable for the last 13 years. So we are around 500 employees in Orange Business. I don't think our idea to be 1,000 or 2,000 employees was an ambition. So when you look at the number of employees you have, it depends on what the business needs. So I link perfectly with Matt. If the business is growing, then you have more capacity to grow in terms of number of employees in your shared service center. So the business is quite challenging for us. But the fact that we were stable and having a low number, or say not like a big number of employees, allow us to be quiet in a certain period where the headquarters in France, for example, will not really look at Bratislava as a problem, in the sense that we have major big service center in other countries like India, Egypt, Morocco, and Brazil, for example. So we were not in the spotlight when it goes to headcount reduction or things like this. But yes, the business is very challenging as well for Orange Business. So I guess one of the things we were trying to look at is how can we transform as well as a shared service center. So for example, I do agree that there is this global view. So the head of Orange Business Services, Aliette in France, might look at how can we do some kind of optimization. We can look at workforce optimization. This is what we are talking about when we have the Gen AI coming. So how do we automate the processes? Do we need to upskill our employee, etc.? So this is workforce. But behind workforce optimization, we hear cost reduction. We hear another word, And it depends how you translate that to your employee. So we need to find the key to say, yes, in fact, one of the consequences of a challenging business might be a reduction of certain headcounts in different countries, including Slovakia. But you can also, and that's why I'm optimist, because I like to see the glass half full. So I can say, yeah, but it's an opportunity as well. So with the fact that GenAI is coming, it's not about a straight cost reduction, headcount reduction. No, we can transform and ask our employee to upskill, reskill, do more around talent program. And I agree with Matt that we have a lot of talented people in Slovakia. Are they part of a program? Do we clearly identify those talents? Do we give them the training they need in order to be a potential leader? And what I see in Orange Business in Slovakia is that even though we were stable, yes, might be an issue around cost effectiveness because the prices grow, the salary are higher. But what I try to explain in Paris, for example, is that, yeah, but in the end, we have much more local manager. You don't pay a manager or manager of manager. We have people reporting to some board member, which were not the case probably 5 years ago. So the quality of the individual we have bring very high value. So when I hear cost effectiveness, I think it's too reductive. It doesn't show what is behind. You know, the expertise, the skills, which is now the new currency for our customer. They are looking for people who are certified. They are looking for talent people, for leaders. We talk about critical thinking, which is key now. So that's what we're looking at. So if it's just around cost, then I might discuss an argument a lot, and I have no problem to do that with the leaders in Orange Business, because I want to know what's behind. And if you just stop yourself to a location strategy, offshoring, to be clear, we cannot compete. Okay, we cannot compete with India, with Egypt. That's clear. So we have to find other area where we bring added value. So I tend to say that we have to stop thinking of a shared service center as a cost center, but as a value center, and that makes the difference.
I share also my own experience. The center of Holcim, the business service center for Europe in Holcim is in Košice, in Eastern Slovakia. My experience is similar to the one of Jérôme. In the last 3-4 years, we have been growing, like a 10% growth of employees and really reputation within the company. So there are 4 positive experiences here, but now it gets more difficult because what we see in the data, this is not the general trend. So now, going beyond our own cases, why do you think this is not happening as a whole in the country? What are you doing individually in your centers that is not happening in other centers? What are the conditions that are explaining this decline?
So for us, the decline is something what was expected, right? So you are looking at the jobs, like various jobs. We are looking at the jobs from a process perspective, and the transactional entry-level, very simple jobs, they are either automated or in India at this stage. What we have here, and it actually reflects very well with the chart which was presented earlier about the average cost of an employee. So the positions which we have here are not the same positions which we have in India, right? So for example, in cash application, people who are applying payments to invoices, we don't have any of that anywhere else. We either have it automated or in India. However, the process owners and the quality assurance teams and training teams for this particular process are still elsewhere. They are not in India, they are in Bratislava, and there might be in Mexico and somewhere else, right? Because this is about the skill set, different skill set which is needed for this job. So right now, the jobs which we have are fewer, however, are much more complex, are no longer transactional, but are really people who are decision makers, who are checking the quality, who are transforming the process, and this is the skill set which we are hiring for, right? It's very difficult to expect, like, okay, so if I had 2,000 transactional jobs, I will have 2,000 the same job, 2,000 jobs of this nature. Probably not, right? Because like the process people and more value add resources, you probably don't need that many, right? So these are the jobs which we would be hiring for, and it's not easy actually to find these on the market as well. Like if I went out and tried to hire 20 people to transform my processes, it wouldn't be easy. However, we have, on the positive note, we have a good bench, right? So we have 35,000 people in this industry. Many of them are still working on the transactional level jobs, right? And our job as the leaders of these teams is to enable them to actually transform to something else so that they can learn, they can develop, and support the companies in more value add.
If I understand correctly, you are talking about a labor shortage in Slovakia. Is this your experience also as well, Matt?
Look, I think we have a very strong culture and very strong business, and we have had individuals that have left our organization here and moved to other companies and have quickly come back. So as much as maybe there's shortages overall, I think we have always been able to compete very well with finding good people here. And I think it's really about, I'm kind of thinking about what you said. We're not looking to outsource jobs for costs. We're looking to find the best people possible to deliver on our customer metrics. And that's really, I like how you said, a value center. So for us, I find tremendous competitive advantage here as a value center, driving the key KPIs that matter to our customers and to our business. So each one of our team members is hyper-focused on excelling, on driving value, on just exceeding the expectations of their customers. And I think when you have that kind of a cultural gravity, the best people will always gravitate to you. Do we have are there shortages of certain roles and certain technical, people? Of course, there are always those things. But I think here it's much easier to convince people to come because there's 1,200 other people that all have a story of success, not only in their careers, but also working with our company. And I think that gives us tremendous, capability in our platform to expand. But there are certainly some shortages in places.
Jerome, what's your experience?
Well, for me, I think there is many factors that make us stable. First, in Orange Business, we have a 6% attrition rate. That means people are not leaving. And even similarly, if they leave the company, they come back. And we're very happy to welcome them back. It could be because we have, if I look at the salary, the monthly salary you share, like 2,800 and plus, I think we are having good package in terms of paying for the expertise. So if we're talking about value center, then you have to consequently pay the salary for the expertise they bring to the company. So yes, explaining that to Orange Business in France is quite hard to say, yeah, we might be very expensive in certain cases, but it depends in which job we're talking about, right? So there is an average, and also this is something that was close to me really last year when I started to look at what kind of local strategy we can put in place. So we always rely on Orange Business global strategy, which is lead the future. And I was trying to translate this strategy into how does it mean for us locally. And basically, it was also a way for us to make our site a bit more visible. So the talented people, if they are bringing value, you cannot just hide it and stay in Bratislava and that's fine. No, you need to also showcase what we are doing in Bratislava that is the difference. So instead of comparing ourselves to other major service centers around the globe, in the strategy I was trying to look at what makes us unique. Where is our strength? And it could be reliability, loyalty, it could be the fact that we bring different kind of expertise, and so on and so forth. So those are key elements we can play with. And yes, if you want to grow to a number of 1,000 employees, to do what? So for me, the question is like, okay, you want to be 2,000, I want to grow. So we're talking about shared service center growing to 2,000, to do what exactly? So the same question I'm asking, if one of the leaders say, well, Jerome, probably Poland is less expensive. Okay, so probably we might move there. To do what? It's still the same question. So if it's to replace, so I like what you say, we have to look at processes, we have to look at competencies, we have to look at skills, we have to look at the customer. And in Europe, mainly for Orange Business, our customers are in Europe. So it's very important that also we look at what the role of a shared service center is playing. Are we close to the business? Are we doing business? And yes, in fact, in Orange Business here in Bratislava, there is teams who are in sales teams, Orange Business International, and do contribute to the revenue. So we have to take where we're good at and sell that to our headquarters and say, yeah, we do have value. I do understand any reorganization, location strategy, etc. So, but you can still question that, and I'm okay to question everything. So,
there is another interesting piece of data. It says 83% of the member companies expect their headcounts to increase next year. It's funny because this was the same number as last year and the same number of the previous year. Still, the workforce reduced. So yes, we are optimistic when we answer the questionnaire, but still something is not happening.
Yeah,
I mean, let me be a bit provocative. So I'm so happy for Lenovo and Orange to be these wonderful islands. I think I have my resume here that I'm going to hand over.
Happy to have you.
But maybe we should think a bit beyond that, because the reality of the data doesn't say that. Christina?
Yeah, so from my perspective, like most of the companies who are here have been on this journey for quite some time. So they are all on a certain point in their maturity curve, right? And they are probably thinking automation and maybe moving somewhere even further from here. But what's happening with the new members or new companies? So how many new shared services actually came to Slovakia during the few last years, right? And how big of a players are these, right? So that's a question. So it doesn't make sense to move something from Slovakia to Poland. Fully agree with Jerome on that, because but the pain by building a new center for a small benefit wouldn't make sense. The same for Slovakia to Romania, right? But if you are a company who are just starting on your shared services journey, you can decide, am I going to Slovakia? Am I going to Poland? Am I going to Hungary or Czech Republic or wherever, Lithuania, right? So you have many options to decide. And we don't see this new growth. Like that's why I believe the numbers which were shown are going like in the reduction curve, because the new companies who would be building the new centers, who didn't start the shared services before, are not choosing Slovakia right now. Yeah, and those who are already here, they are either maintaining, maybe some are growing a little bit, but many of them are actually reducing. Yeah, and that's the reason why. If you ask me like why the new companies are not choosing Slovakia, there are a couple of things in my view. One is the talent availability, right? So we need skilled talent with languages, right? So what is different? Like when do I decide if I go to India or to Slovakia? I go to Slovakia if I need somebody speaking Dutch, or somebody speaking Hungarian, or somebody speaking German, right? But even with the German speakers, it's not that easy to find 100 German speakers on the market very quickly.
Except for Lenovo and Orange, that is.
Oh, no.
Maybe they don't need them, right? But like, yes, so if the jobs are like English speaking, you probably move them to India at a certain point of time, right? And if you are searching for 100 German speakers, you might consider like, am I going to Slovakia? Am I going to Poland? Like, where is the biggest talent pool for me? Right? The same applies for IT skills, right? So where are the best universities for IT in Central Eastern Europe? Where would I go? And where are the students actually finishing universities and staying?
Yeah, what I would add is I'm really honing in on the value center element, because when we go to solve business problems, we don't go and look at people and say, where can we go save money? We go and say, where can we find people that can go solve our problems? And that with that mindset, you kind of organize the different locations that you can go based on the availability of critical mass. We have centers all over EMEA, but none of them have the combination of languages, technical skills, and just culture that is here. So I think part of it is also marketing. I think we need to do more to market Bratislava as not kind of lumped in with every outsourcing conversation, but standing on its own as this value center. I really appreciate that comment because I think that's really the truth.
Yep.
Is that we all see it. You know, when something looks good, you can just see it. There's something very special here in Bratislava, and I think the more we can do to tell that story, I think the better off the numbers overall will look, whether it's one company doing better or another. And I think we all can do more to just showcase not only the people, but the different divisions and the different functions that exist here in our centers.
We still have 5 minutes left, and there are many very smart questions here, much more important than my questions. So I'm going to read this one. And Jérôme, that's for you. Thank you very much. And now it's gone. This is the one that I was going to read. Was something about taxation. So what do you think that the influence of taxation in the attractiveness of the business
you are
is?
speaking to a French guy. So we have quite high taxation in France. Does it stop the business? Probably not. Do we have big companies in France? Yes. Is Orange Business a big company in France? Yes. Is Orange France a big company? Yes. So taxation is, for me, consequences of many what I call external factor that probably shared business service center might be impacted with, but it's not something a break to, your global business, right? So again, I'm going back to the business because if your business is growing, taxation might be one piece of the puzzle when you do your financial strategy and look at, okay, that probably we might need to increase the salary, probably the people we have less money in the end if there is high taxation. But when I say it's outside, it's like for me to come back also to link with what we say, there is two factors for me. There are things that you cannot control, which is the crisis we've been through the past 5 years, COVID, energy, war, etc. So the only things you can do as a leader when you speak to your employees to, one of the key point is adaptability. And when you do that, suddenly when a crisis comes, then the company has the possibility to change the value. Suddenly when COVID comes, business continuity, healthy people, back home. So you can quickly switch your value and the priority of what you want to do, keeping the business, because this is the customer who pays the salary of all the employees, right? The second thing you can do is internally. So really, what can I do as a site leader? And I'm not a CEO, I'm a site leader. So I'm not a decision-making process or decision maker in hiring or not. But I can influence, and the marketing point of view is something that I'm doing a lot. You can talk about tax. I can show and go to Paris the map that AmCham is producing when you see all the shared service center and say, all the big companies are here. So it makes sense we are here. And you look at the map, wow, they have no idea what's happening in Slovakia. I think this is the thing we need to promote. If you look at what Sario is doing, the automotive industry, the gigafactory coming here, there is a lot of investment even coming more from APAC to Eastern and Central Europe. So if you promote taxation, you will not get what you want. If you promote positive things, this is just the consequences. So for me, even we will go through this taxation, are people going to leave? Are people will try to find another job that pays more? That means paying more tax. You are, the snake eating. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a debate that is now in the moment. We have the same in France, and I can say that this is something that we are living with. And company are the one paying all those taxes. So yes, it might influence the attractiveness. So as you mentioned, I agree with you. If you are new and want to implement your shared service center in Europe, because of this, you might not choose Slovakia. But if you have the possibility to link with other shared service center while you are here, like do a kind of a survey, then they will say because of the value, because of the people, because of this should be okay. I'm sorry, this will come everywhere in Europe. The taxation is a European issue.
There was another question about how easy it is to attract talent to Slovakia in comparison with other countries. And the technical part is working very well, highlighting the question, so maybe you can find it. What's your experience with this, Christina?
Can you repeat the
Yes,
question?
how easy it is to attract talent to Slovakia in comparison with other countries?
Yeah, so it depends like which countries you are comparing to. I can maybe go backwards and say like couple of years back, couple of years back, like 5 years back, when we needed 20 Spanish speakers or 20 Italian speakers, we had actually people from Spain and Italy applying and really lining up for these jobs, and we could hire them within a month. Like really, you could hire 20 Spanish speakers within a month. That's not now the case anymore in Slovakia. So when I'm hiring Spanish, now usually the applicants which I get are from Mexico or non-EU countries, which is actually difficult to employ these people because you need to go through the foreign police and everything, like all of that, which takes like 6 months. Yeah, so compared to, I cannot compare, I don't have centers like in other Eastern European countries, right? So I have centers also in Mexico or in India. In India, the talent pool is much higher, right? So if the talent pool is bigger, then the speed it's faster, right? But again, the advantage of Slovakia is the foreign language, which we are not going to get in India, like Norwegian. You can get Norwegian in Slovakia. It takes 6 months, right? But you can get people like that. Or Dutch speakers. We have pretty big Dutch team in here. So it is actually gotten a little bit more difficult to hire these people, like Germans, for example, when the tax rules have changed and the cost of living have changed in Slovakia. Because if I'm a German speaker and I'm at the beginning of my career, I can decide if I want to go and work in Austria or Germany or Switzerland, or if I will stay in Slovakia, right? And right now, after the recent changes in taxations and cost of living, many of these German speakers decide to go and work from abroad.
You know that the likes rule the world, so let's finish with the question with the more likes. So the question is, what is your projection of the FT, let's say, evolution in the sector by 2030? In the sector, not in your companies. In the sector, we assume in Slovakia there's even more likes now in Slovakia.
Well, so first of all, I think that the first question is, in the world of AI, how do humans fit and how do humans in Slovakia fit relative to that change? We are big believers that AI is going to be a human augmenter, not a replacement for humans. So it's going to be a tool for us to rapidly increase productivity, not to replace the jobs. And if anybody that works in AI has actually tried to develop these AI capabilities, you realize there's a lot of human touch to it. So if anything, I think that the more skilled labor force you have, the more you are suited to actually take on the roles to work with AI. And that actually becomes a catalyst for growth here as opposed to a deterrent for growth. So, I think it goes back to how we market Bratislava and how we market Slovakia in general as a talent base with competitive advantages relative to Western European countries, and not comparing it to India or Egypt or Malaysia or places where, basic tasks are outsourced. So I go back to, it's a branding exercise to really showcase what the talented community here can do. And I think that very much well aligns with the AI inflection that all of us are thinking about every day or using every single day as we go on that journey.
I forgot to say, actually, we are recording this, and in 2030, we are going to come back here on this stage with the same average age to check these answers.
Well, yeah, so I can't wait.
There is also something I wanted to add, because, you say not reduction, but evolution. For us, it's, first of all, for AI, those who are not adopting AI on their job might have an issue. It's like the first time you were using internet, if you don't adopt the technology, then other will be faster than you, and you will be, behind. By 2030, it depends what we are looking at. For example, in Orange Business, we are looking at the European sovereignty. Why? Because our business is global network. So we know today that we need to get a sovereign data, sovereign cloud, sovereign cybersecurity, and there are jobs that you will need to get only in Europe because of that. So it depends how you position yourself as a company, so not as a site, but if the company say, okay, we know this is coming, we know there is a lot of regulation in Europe, but if we comply to this European sovereignty, then there are possibility to grow. It depends where, of course, still the location is important, and there are jobs that we will not be able to have outside of Europe. So this is always the battle that will go. And now if you look at strategy that we have in Orange Business for 2030, and I think most of the corporate company are doing that now, you go for a 5-year strategy, and then you come for a 3-year strategy, and then you stop, okay, what about 2026? Because the adaptability needs to be done year on year almost, because it's changing so fast.
Yeah, and on the AI question, not everybody can afford AI at this point, right? So usually these are the big companies who really can afford and can pioneer AI. And I don't want to forget about the smaller companies who maybe even haven't started the shared services journey. So these companies are probably not ready for AI adoption, right? And that's also this piece which can actually bring this sector back to maybe not growing, but not declining that steeply if we are able to attract new shared services into the area where they would start with the simpler jobs and centralizing, right? So not everybody has done that.
Not sure if you got the answers to the questions, but at least I hope you had an interesting time with this conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have to stay for a picture. I heard you have to stay for a picture. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like there is a break. No. No. Because now there is really strong data coming. The data from the world, from the PwC. But I cannot stop this. So, we'll wait what's going to happen. Just give us a few seconds for those who will remain and for those who are going to take some refreshments. Okay, let's take 2 minutes break. Okay, 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, please. Jasné, poďte, jasné. Ale mám foťák. All right, guys, so just 1 more minute. So, 30 seconds to go. O malú chvíľu začneme, rozumieme tomu, že je príjemnejšie požívať informácie v kvalitnom, nádhernom prostredí, s dobrým jedlom, s dobrým pitím. Sme empatickí voči týmto potrebám, no napriek tomu show must go on. To ešte príde. Dámy a páni, oficiálna prestávka je až od 11:00. A keďže som sprievodcom vášho programu, je nutné vás upozorňovať, že sa musíme vrátiť na miesta. Už dávno ste to určite nepočuli, dlho ste neboli v škole, chápem to. A veľmi rozumiem teraz učiteľom, ktorí bojujú tento boj s veternými mlynmi. Pomaly, ale určite sa program začne. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, if it is possible, please welcome Mr. Peter Mrnka, the partner from PwC, who is going to present us. All right. Vítajte. Who is going to present us a global bi-year survey conducted by his colleagues in Germany, which has been strongly supported for this moment with Slovakian input as well. So, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, good morning. If I can get your attention for the next hour and a half, I'm just joking. So my name is Peter Mrnka. I'm the audit partner in PwC Slovakia, representing the largest consulting firm in Slovakia. And I'm auditor by profession. So in the morning I was counting all of you here in the room. I guess it's something like 200 people here in the room. So it shows how important these topics are to you and for our Slovak industry. In the next maybe 30-35 minutes, as the slide says here, for me, I will be taking you through the global survey, which the colleague mentioned, is a biannual survey which PwC conducts globally among all the larger GBS centers in the world. And this brings lots of data, and obviously myself as auditor is always interested in data to see what the companies are telling us in terms of the current status, the future challenges, the trends, the innovations, the locations. So the presentation will be all about this. The number of participants was more than 100 global GBS centers that participated. There was a good representation of the CE, so the numbers also speak about the CE presence and how strong CE is in this world of GBS centers. Also, there was a good number of Slovak GBS centers and the leaders who contributed to the survey, so there is also a good spin or good a touch of the Slovak presence of the GBSs in the survey. And then at the end of the day, you will see, on the last slide, you will see a link or a QR code where you can download the study at the end of my presentation. So let me start with a couple of the key messages. So I think what is the key message from that survey, which, as the colleague mentioned, was prepared by PwC Germany. So the companies are truly positioned themselves as the strategic enablers of the transformations of their enterprises, not only during the COVID time, but also in the last couple of years. Why? Because they are driving innovations, they are sitting on lots of talents, they bring the insights, they are processing data, they are becoming the data experts. And this is happening in multiple ways. And I will be talking in the next few slides on what are those key trends or those key topics I want to highlight. So from the first, let's say, message would be the companies are no longer cost centers, and also the speakers here just before me talked about, is this a cost play, is this a labor arbitrage game, or is it value, is it trust, as also Peter Rosniak mentioned at the beginning. So one of the trends that I will be presenting on the data is how the centers are moving from being seen as cost centers to being seen as capability centers, and probably the next big word in this industry will be capability. So let's talk about the capabilities, what we have in our centers and how we develop the capabilities in the centers on the global scale. The second major topic is talking about digital acceleration, digital skills, etc., and how those digital skills are enabling us to transform, to adapt, and to create new opportunities for the corporations. The next part of the presentation will be also talking about, so where are we on the global scale? What is the global game? So what is the location competition? So are we selecting new locations? Are we coming back, etc.? So offshoring, onshoring, nearshoring will be the next topic of my presentation. And finally, And again, as the speakers before me were talking, this is about also how are we integrated, what is the value of those centers in their corporate world. So are those centers just seen as a cost center, or are they truly integrated into those corporate managements? And so how do we get there to be really recognized and visible as let's say Jero mentioned for Orange? So those are probably the four components I will be touching on. I think, and I like the first statement of the screen, if you can see it, and I'll go on side here. So with all that uncertainty which is happening in the last couple of years, the war, the conflicts, the sanctions, the trade wars, the regulations, etc., the scarcity of talents, aren't the GBS centers well positioned to prove themselves? Isn't this the right moment, the right time in the last couple of, let's say, years and in the years to come to really define that the GBS centers are really to prove themselves in those corporate worlds, that they are those who can lead, who can transform, who can innovate, who can be the drivers of the automation, etc. When, if not now, when, if not in the next couple of years, to prove that, yes, we are the GBS segments or the GBS divisions of the corporations are those who can lead the change. And I really like this sentence as an opening, or this question as an opening to the study. I do believe that the GBS centers are really sitting on lots of data. They are owners of the processes, so they know the best how those processes operate. They know the best how those processes can be modified, amended, improved, made more efficient, etc. It's also they know the best about what those talents in their GBS centers can deliver. Are those talents just people, or just people who can deliver the transactional level, or are those talents capable of adopting to the automations, to the AI challenges, etc.? And if yes, how we use those people to bring the innovations and the efficiency and also the cost saving. What I put on the right-hand side of the slide is probably an evolution which I took away from the survey. So all the GBSs probably start with the labor arbitrage, with the cost arbitrage, and start to look at, okay, we create those GBSs because there is a cost efficiency of setting up a GBS center, and that cost element is connected with quality and with productivity. Once you have set it up, then probably the next stage of growing the GBS centers is the scale. Yeah, so you try to look around, can you bring more functions, more processes, more legal entities, etc., or you scale it up through creating another center. So that's the next dimension of what the centers are doing. And I think the last and the current element or current dimension, as they call it, in the survey is capability. So if we have achieved all the cost arbitrage or the cost efficiencies, if we have the productivity, if we have the scale, so what's the next element? What is the next dimension that we can deliver to our corporations? And that's the capability. Do we have the right capable people in our corporations to really take those opportunities with the automations, with all those geopolitics uncertainties? Or do we need to look for those capabilities somewhere else? And as a result of those three, let's say, dimensions or evolution stages, what the centers are probably looking at is not to be told what to do, but drive the impact on the capability. So you are responsible for driving those capabilities in your centers in Slovakia or elsewhere. It's also to use the AI and the hype and all the kind of trends around automation to really be digital-first mindset and to lead the AI transformations in your GBSs for your corporations. And then last but not least, also to consider probably on a broader scale outside Slovakia, outside of your territories. Are you looking at one location, one center? Are you using multiple centers, and how those centers shall cooperate? How you split those talents or allocate those talents among the centers, transactional versus, let's say, those leaders, the innovators, etc. So that's also important for you to decide as the leaders of the centers. Now, I think I have 5 or 6 sections here to present. So let's talk about the changing of the scope and again, some data to share. The study, which you can download through the QR code at the end, is 124 pages long. So I had a hard time to digest and kind of take the extract, which was important for me and which I hope will be also interesting for you. So the processes, the functions which are mostly centralized in the GBS centers are obviously those which are data-driven. So this is accounting, this is IT, this is procurement, etc., etc. if you look at the bottom of the chart, you would see that those areas which are probably less data-based, like research and development, marketing, sales, probably those are obviously less centralized in the GBS locations. This is not changing much, so this is probably a status quo for the last couple of years. It also shows that those functions which are able to be centralized in your GBS centers are equally good to be outsourced to those vendors, to those providers. So probably there is a game decision, or kind of a decision for you. Do we keep those people in the centers and the accounting will be done in-house, or do you outsource the accounting, or let's say the IT support to a vendor who can process the data or do all the IT jobs for you? So that's probably on the same page. Now, when talking about the changing of the scope, you have a couple of options. So an easy one is to expand the center as is, so use the actual location and lift and shift new processes, new functions, new skills into the center, but stay organically in the center as you are. I think the other option of what you can do with the centers is probably transform your GBS center, as we call them, or shared service center, into a global capability center. So the term which I have seen a couple of times mentioned throughout the survey is, let's develop those GBSs into the global capability centers, and let's call them capability centers. Also, what the survey shows here, and I will be sharing some data about insourcing or outsourcing, there is an increased tendency, I would say, to bring functions and processes back from being outsourced to being insourced. Again, and we'll be talking about it. Why? The technology allows you probably to redirect some of those processes from being manually driven by an outsourced provider to bring it back to your centers, to your corporations, and have those processes run automatically with all the technologies and all the automation for the efficiency, for the control, for the risk purposes, etc., etc. So if you are thinking about outsourcing, and outsourcing is still a huge topic, if you are limited by, let's say, the labor cost, then outsourcing is obviously something which is a budget of someone else, right? So insourcing, outsourcing is something which you can consider, but globally, again, these are global data, not Slovakia specific. Insourcing seems to be a trend which the current 21st century, with all the AI, all the automations, all the technology is driving the decisions of the global corporations to bring some of the processes back home. So what are those processes which, again, the study says can serve the expansion of the scope? So supply chain services, commercial services. I would probably mention more R&D, ESG reporting to the extent that ESG is relevant in some of the territories globally, but also, and primarily for me, data analytics, business intelligence, etc. So not only to have the data, but to know what to do with the data, to analyze the data and find those connections, those relationships in the data to really make well-informed decisions. The same for centers of excellence in the IT space. So what the survey suggests is for those GBS centers and their leaders, what to do is rethink the GBS value, and my predecessors mentioned the value. So really is, what is our value as the GBS centers? Are we still seen by the corporations as the cost centers or the pool of talents, or are we seen as someone who can really innovate and drive the change and transform and bring efficiency, etc.? So how would you define the value of the company in front of the, let's say, the boards? The same applies to the GBS lead. So how are we seen as the leaders of the sites in terms of letting the place be in the current stage, or shall we be reducing and probably looking on a global scale somewhere else? Shall we bring more talents? We all know how difficult it is to bring the talents, etc. So what is the role of the GBS leaders to maintain those centers versus automate versus transfer somewhere else? The same applies to mindset. Mindset is now currently connected with, okay, so what capabilities do we have? How we initiate and motivate people to really be willing to learn and upskill and have that mindset of constant innovation and creativity. I would probably go to the next slide or to the next chapter, and this talks about the strategic shifts and repositioning. So when I was looking at the study 5 years ago, now this chapter will be talking about how the centers have changed over the 5 years. Now imagine how short period of time 5 years is on your timeline of having the GBS centers for the last 20 years in Slovakia or elsewhere. So this is showing probably the speed of change over the last 5 years on a couple of data here. So again, globally, not talking about Slovakia specifically, so the global centers are primarily in 3 different stages. Some of the centers are single tower, single function, so, and they are, let's say, only doing accounting, or within accounting, they only do, let's say, AR or AP. So that's our single tower or single function centers. A number of those single function centers is reducing over the last 5 years because the global corporations realized having a single tower is not paying back those benefits, so they really need the scale and synergies of having and bringing multiple functions. So the other segment or the other, let's say, category of the GBSs are those which are multifunctional, simply having more functions in a single location, which brings all the benefits from the organizational perspective, but also exchanging data. And then the next level is those centers which are global centers where they have multiple functions, multiple centers, and they use the geographical spread of the centers because they want to serve the customers the best. So the number of those GBSs is not changing significantly, so which proves that the large GBS centers are those who have been here 5 years ago. They are still here and they are relevant for their corporations to drive business on a large scale in multiple global centers with multiple functions in them. When you look at the 72% number, again, the contrast is 5 years ago, lots of companies were talking about automations being the RPA solutions, etc. Now that percentage of how much are the companies focusing on automation has doubled over the last 5 years. So imagine the speed of change in terms of the technological changes and how quickly we need to adapt to those technological changes, even more now with the AI opportunities and agentic AIs. Also, companies are trying to reposition themselves from being the cost centers to centers of excellence. So that label of we are the center of excellence probably really has an impact on the corporate map of the centers. Once you are defining yourself as a center of excellence and you can prove the excellency in what you do, again, that is a clear shift in the global survey today compared to 5 years ago. In terms of the working models, this is a trend which is opposite to what we expected 5 years ago when the pandemic started. So back in 2020, it was expected that 72% of the GBSs would say, we want to have a complete hybrid model, so allow the full flexibility of the people working from home, working from the offices, and that 70% was kind of the target of many of the GBSs. Right now, it's probably half of the GBSs who say that we are supporting a fully hybrid model, and there is a tendency probably to bring people more back to office to cooperate and also from the social perspective to get those benefits of working as teams. And finally, and I will be talking about the last number in a second, that 68% compared to 36% of organizations being integrated or being independent functions. Now, I do not have a chart for it because of the time limitation here, but what it means is this number talks about what role the GBS centers play in their corporations. In many of those, let's say, less mature GBSs, the GBS is seen as a cost center, as a location which supports the services, and they report to the CFOs of the company, and are still seen as a support function to a single CFO for most of the processes which are in the GBSs. Some more mature GBSs are saying, okay, so we want to be well integrated, and then the finance GBSs are integrated into the finance functions. The IT GBSs are integrated into the IT functions, and the integration means more in terms of how relevant the GBS is, because integration means you cannot get rid of those processes. So the more integrated you are, the more kind of marketing you do about your integration, the more relevant you are. And then the last stage that we see here, and again, kind of quite strengthening over the last 5 years, is starting to be independent, so that you have your own vice president, and we had a couple of vice presidents here in the room. So once you get the seat at the board, then you are seen on the map of being the powerful body, the powerful, let's say, organization in your corporations. And that is a clear trend. So again, maybe just as an advice or message also for myself, take away from the study. if you can kind of explain your role in those corporations and probably start to be more independently seen and supported by other CO functions or C-level functions at the board level of the corporations, the more important you are and the bigger wins you can get for your GBSs. In terms of that strategic shift, so what the companies are doing again globally, so in terms of process excellence, I don't think that's a surprise, digitalizations and increase of standardization. In terms of scope expansions, again, companies, and this is not different to the Slovak survey which you have in front of you, all the centers are trying and focusing on the scope expansions of their captive GBSs. The next probably dimension of the scope expansion is also to go into more complex and more value-added services, as we already mentioned. Now, if you look at the bottom part of the slide, that's also interesting. It's to see what is not happening. So the last line says relocation of activities back to local teams. I guess probably all of you would confirm that this is not your trend in your organizations to bring the functions processes from the GBS centers back to those individual locations, to the silo approach of doing the business. So this proves that GBSs are the right approach to centralize, to standardize, to automate, and no one is easily going back to those local teams. When you look at insourcing and outsourcing, and I already mentioned, so we see an increased trend of insourcing the processes back to your corporations versus outsourcing, et cetera. Now, so this is probably another interesting slide for me in terms of what roles do the GBSs play in their corporations, and there are three options given to the participants of the survey. So those GBSs, I'm reading from the bottom up. So GBSs are not involved at all in strategic designing and the defining the strategies of the corporations. The next level is GBSs are only informed about the strategy and they execute the strategy. So that's probably where those GBSs are still seen as a cost centers if you only execute the strategy. But I am happy to say from this study is that 57%, so those first two options are probably a good number to present to all of us, again, a benchmark to your own ambitions and plans, that the GBSs are either co-leading the strategical decisions of the corporations in their functions, in the processes, or they are the drivers of the strategy decisions. So again, if you want to develop your centers, your positions, then probably you need to move up the scale and the ladder and start driving those strategic decisions in those capabilities where you are most developed. This is also a nice illustration for me in terms of how those functions and skills are changing over a couple of selected examples here. So if I would take the digital or the technology piece, a couple of years ago, companies were looking at developing the major or kind of simple RPA solutions, and the trend in the technology is moving from having the RPA solutions in place in your functions, in your processes, to probably going through the continuous AI use case and scaling those AI options. And again, I will be talking about the technology in a second. When you look at tax, for instance, lots of the GBS centers in their early stages with tax functions were looking at processing the direct or indirect tax filings or tax returns through the tax provisioning, through the tax data analytics, up to, let's say, nowadays, Pillar 2 agenda, BEPS, to readiness, et cetera, et cetera. So that's moving up the scale and the capacity or the capability in the tax functions, et cetera, et cetera. Just for the sake of time, you can all read it later on in the study. So location strategies I mentioned, so this is not only one or the other, it is also about how many locations the corporations have at the global scale and what roles those centers play on the global map. So just quick summary of where those locations are, probably not surprising for you. 40% of the GBSs are currently based in India, and then followed by primarily Eastern Europe, and then those two other locations being Southeast Asia and also Mexico or Latin America as such. Now, interesting for me was the magnitude and the speed of what's going on in India. The number which is said in the study explains that in India today there are more than 3,000 centers. Of those 3,000 centers, which is more than the entire Europe, I guess, of those 3,000 centers, approximately 400 centers, so let's say 1/10 of the centers were created, set up on a large scale in the last 4 years. So imagine 400 centers in 4 years for all other corporations, how quick that speed of change is in India, and how much more a role they will play in the future for their corporations. And it's also not only about India. We talk about Malaysia. We talk about Philippines. In Europe, surprisingly, and we will be mentioning the nearshoring trend. In Europe, it's not only about Eastern Europe. If Eastern Europe, then companies are deciding for the second-tier cities, so not always Krakow, Warsaw, or Prague, Budapest, but also lots of second-tier smaller cities where there are universities and where you can find talents, because in those major locations, talent is already used and employed in the existing centers. So in Europe, outside of the sea region, what we also see from our perspective happening is that the companies are moving from Eastern Europe either south to, let's say, Southeast Europe, Bulgaria, Romania. We see lots of companies moving to Turkey. Our competition is currently going to Spain, to Portugal, to Egypt, so all those locations which are, let's say, I would call them nearshore, and that's the competition within the corporations or even on the labor market for all of us. So now, why those location strategies are important? There are four trends which explain why do we need to reassess the locations, not talking Slovakia versus outside of the Slovakia, but still the global trends. So the number one starting factor to consider the criteria or the assessment of staying or moving away is the narrowing cost arbitrage. So as those centers become more mature, more advanced, obviously the labor cost is increasing, and then the cost arbitrage, which was probably relevant 5 years ago, maybe in the next 3 years, if you take India, and if there is an increase of the cost, let's say by 10% each year, the cost of delivering the work from India will be also significantly growing in the next couple of years. So the question is, if you are losing the cost arbitrage, does it open the question for you to, again, reallocate some of the work or to keep the work in Eastern Europe or elsewhere? So the cost arbitrage is less relevant because the technology is driving lots of changes as well as competition. So as a result, that opens the door for reconsidering the location strategies. The next is talent. So obviously, when we talk about the people, we obviously cannot compete with India or Southeast Europe, but it's not about the number of employees, it's about the number of the employees in the given skill or in the given capability. So the companies are deciding for transactional processing, we have a center. If we need some, let's say, IT people, we may need a different center where those IT skills are based. If you need engineers, again, another location. So the companies are not deciding having a one center for all, but they are deciding to place those locations or those centers where those capabilities can be found. Also, technology is a significant transformation change here. So you are not only looking at, do we need to be in India, do we need to be, let's say, in Eastern Europe, because the technology, all those collaboration platforms are allowing you to work virtually, online, remote, and you can be in Bali today and working from Bali regardless of what is your functions or responsibilities. And then the last, not an unimportant element is geopolitical uncertainties and all those sanctions regimes, trade wars, regulations, etc. Lots of also customers of PwC are saying, we do not want to put everything into one basket, into kind of one location game of being Asia. And primarily European customers, European clients less than the Americans are saying, we want to come back to Europe and we want to have, for strategic and geopolitical uncertainty reasons and all those risks, we want to have a nearshore center in Europe to serve Europe. Probably for US corporate clients is less relevant question. So US clients are still looking primarily for offshore locations in Asia. And now some of them are building their capabilities and their centers in Southeast America or Latin America. So those 4 components are the key decision factors in terms of locations games, and it's not black or white, so one center fits all. It's to using the talents, the geopolitical opportunities, looking at the cost arbitrage, less relevant these days than it was, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago, and then how to deploy the technology in a way which allow the collaboration across the global map. Now, this proves the nearshoring trend. So in the past, lots of companies were deciding, okay, so we are in the US, we are in Europe, let's go east, let's go to Asia. Now, if you look at the bottom line of the chart, which shows the attractive, very attractive scale. So I think it's what 67% of the GBSs are saying we want to have a nearshore center. We are focusing on nearshore because nearshore is giving us, let's say, the cultural, the time zone proximity, also the benefits for our customers. That's where our customers are located, etc. So nearshoring is becoming also an important trend for quite a huge number of corporations. We also see it in our consulting world. I guess all big four companies are looking at Asia, but some are realizing already we need to be also present in Europe, and we need to build a strong presence in Europe to serve the European customers. The future of the location strategy. So obviously, most of the companies they are trying to strengthen the existing locations, and we talk about what it means for Slovakia, whether the companies want to stay in Slovakia. I guess the leaflets that you have in front of you is confirming or are confirming that the companies which are in Slovakia want to stay in Slovakia, but the global war of talent and the global war of, let's say, the cost and technology may be changing that in a midterm. Okay, digital, that's the next topic. So let's talk about this as well. Again, the speed of change and the speed of adoption of all the automation opportunities differs based on the scale and maturity of the GBSs. So the younger the GBSs are, the less opportunities or the less talent or skills they have to automate the processes. Even if you have centers which are present and set up for the last 20 plus years, then obviously that creates the basis for you to drive more changes in the digital transformations. And again, you see how those trends in automations have developed or evolved over the last couple of years. So 5 years ago, all the companies have implemented lots of RPA solutions, and you would see that 72% of the companies already have very robust RPA solutions throughout all their processes. If you look at the bottom part of the slide, it says that the companies are only now implementing digital technologies, primarily connected with the AI, and they are developing models and services on those AI technologies, and it's only to be implemented. So we are in early stage. Most of the GBSs, again, on the global average, from the studies say that we are aware of the AI opportunities, but we are only developing the skills, and once we have those skills, then we will be developing models and services for that. Now, expectations in terms of AI and RPA, I would probably take out the RPA from the slide and focus more on AI. So obviously, AI is expected to bring the increased efficiency and cost reduction. What was important for me from the survey was also the next point, that's the quality. Currently, we are all discussing quite largely in terms of, is AI giving us the quality? Is AI giving us the right answers, the right, let's say, summaries that we need? Or do we expect more quality from the AI currently? I guess in a 1 year time or 2 years time, the quality of the AI solutions will be much better. The output will be much better. And as a result, the next point, employee unburdening. There was quite a surprising answer on one of the options here. So not only we shall be focusing on the cost, the benefits from using or deploying AI, but also what it means for our employees. The employees find motivation and probably creativity with the AI, so people are testing and playing with the AI to really develop their skills, and as a result, kind of their experience from working with AI will be much better and will be unburdening lots of the administrative part of their daily jobs. So the issue the challenge that we have is not using AI and the speed of change with the AI, but I guess the question is how to scale up using of AI and how to really identify those opportunities and those methods or services that we can develop and design through the AI. So currently, everybody is playing, trying, testing, piloting. Once we have that experience, then the question is how to scale it up, how to make it apparent across the corporation, across the GBSs. My last section of the presentation, and I'm just given 2 more minutes, so talking about the people. So what the GBSs are telling about the people and HC functions, HC management. So GBSs are recognizing that one of their major responsibilities and focus areas is trainings, and developing opportunities through those trainings for their new skills, for their new capabilities. flexible work is something which we have been talking about for the last 5 years, 5+ years. But also it's a clear definition of the career path for the employees. Probably career path expectations in India are different than in Europe. But also strong employee participation. So that's what are the focus areas. If you look at the right-hand side, what companies actually do in those areas and whether they have taken measures for those areas. So obviously, companies are looking at the individual trainings and developing the opportunities. Where companies are still probably lacking or staying behind is defining the clear career path opportunities for those employees, and other let's say functions or focus areas are probably better covered than the career paths and opportunities for the employees. Also, what I was surprised to see, based on kind of my understanding of the landscape in Slovakia, is that GBSs in Slovakia are coming more back to work, so that there is a tendency to have 3+ days at work and less of the remote work, working from home. Now, this has obviously changed since 2023. So 2 years ago, the companies were saying that the fully hybrid mode is probably equally important than fully working from home, or 1 day at home, 1 day at work. So they were evenly distributed. Nowadays, on a global scale, 53% of the GBSs are saying they fully support the hybrid work, but there is an increasing number of GBSs which support with 19%, which support working from office only. And there are some US companies at least that we are in touch with, where those US companies are saying we are clearly supporting 5 days per week being at work, not at home. Now, talking and probably closing my presentation just perfectly on time with the AI. So agentic AI, what it means for the labor force. So we need to redesign the roles and the skills from being the operators of the AI solutions to being really the orchestrators, so the ones who can define and design those AI solutions or AI agents. What it also means for us, we need to bring capabilities and then the scale for the career development of these employees. Also, we need to rebuild the leadership thinking and the governance around those AIs, obviously, with all the AI regulations coming up. We need to rethink the footprint. So once we have the good scalable solutions, what it means for our GBSs. Are we, with those AI skills and AI solutions, staying in the GBS centers, or does it open the door to do something else? Going out of those centers, different locations, or probably lift and shift some of those AI skills and AI, let's say, projects to some other locations, and again, reshuffle the skills and the capabilities around the centers. Performance and rewards is obviously something. How do we reward and how do we remunerate people for really leading the technology changes? Do we need to adapt our remuneration systems and our reward or bonus systems to really support and incentivize people who are really creative and innovative in bringing opportunities in the AI world? And then last but not least, expand the scope and value. So really represent that your GBSs are the value creators, not any longer the cost centers within the corporations. I guess that's all from myself. So if you want to download the study, here is a QR code. My name is Peter Mrnka, PwC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. And we do have got some questions from the Slido, if it is possible. Is it okay? So, Peter, what is your main takeaway from this global report for Slovakia? Additionally, do you believe that re-upskilling is important aspects of work for SK BSCF?
If you were part of the dinner yesterday where the speakers were discussing this topic, it was quite an exciting chat about where do we see Slovakia. The takeaway for us is, and we were debating whether this is protecting the centers or keeping them in the current stage. I guess the role of the side leaders, of people representing the GBSs in Slovakia, is to really do a better marketing, better communications of the value of the GBSs in Slovakia, and what is their role in the global world. If we would only leave the status as it is, probably the mindset of many other corporations is we need to go east. And if we want to stay relevant on the Slovakia on the map of the global corporations, we need to continuously and constantly fight that battle of we are not yes, we are expensive, but we still have talents, as Jero mentioned from Orange. We have the talents, we have the right capabilities, we have the culture, and as a result, it's more communication and more probably becoming part of those global boards to explain the power of the Slovak centers.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter Manka.
Ďakujem.
Dámy a páni, nejde prestávka, hej? Ešte nie. 15 minút. Na týchto žltých kartičkách nasleduje teraz, že by tam malo byť, že government talks, how do we form and secure the future of business a tak ďalej a tak ďalej. Nebude to tak celkom, pretože život zariadil to, že ministerstvá, ktoré majú záštitu nad naším podujatím, bohužiaľ nepriniesli svojich zástupcov. Na druhej strane sme ale veľkí profesionáli a preto poprosím vás, privítajte Luciu Grneovú. Privítame Luciu Grneovú, ktorá to všetko sejvne. Nech sa páči.
Za takéto privítanie aj so zvukovou vsúkou. Páči sa. Ďakujem pekne. Takže na oživenie vlastne pred prestávkou, ktorá nás čaká o 15 minút, dovolte nám skrátenú diskusiu s našim vzácnym hosťom. Dovolte mi privítať pána Jozefa Kriščíňana so mnou na stage, na paneli. Nech sa páči. A ja som Lucia Grneová, som tu v mene Americkej obchodnej komory, ale riadím aj spoločnosť Vizry na Slovensku. Tak v tvojej pozícii. Nech sa páči, posaďme sa. No, pán Kšiňan, tak začneme rovno, ako to robia novinári, s hurta otázkou, niečo, čo by vás mohlo zaujímať všetkých. Nevedela som, až keď som nezačal študovať váš profil agentúry, že čo vlastne vaša agentúra, nazvem skrátkou ELA, vysvetlíme, robí, kde sídlite a ako je to vlastne celé zorganizované. Čiže poďme spolu odmotávať príbeh ELI a začneme hneď s hurta otázkou, že ako sa to stalo, že máme na Slovensku prvú autonómnu inštitúciu Európskej únie, ktorá sídli priamo v Bratislave. Čím ste sa stali atraktívnymi, ako ste to získali a dajte nám trošku histórie.
Ďakujem pekne za otázku a dobrý deň všetkým. A chcem sa aj veľmi pekne poďakovať za pozvanie a dúfam, že nepresiahnem veľmi čas, lebo som si vedomý, že som jedinou prekážkou pred prestávkou. Dobre, Európsky orgán práce, ten príbeh sa datuje niekde do roku 2018. V tej dobe Slovenská republika bola čerstvo po predsedníctve Európskej únie a dostali sme informáciu, že takáto agentúra vznikne. A my sme zároveň v tej dobe boli jediný členský štát, ktorý bol členom Schengenu, členom eurozóny a nemal agentúru. Čiže to bolo podľa mňa ten hlavný dôvod, prečo sa nám to podarilo. Ten druhý bol oveľa prozaickejší. Čo si myslíte, koľká kandidatúra to bola na agentúru od nášho členstva v roku 2004?
Bojím sa odhadnúť.
Typnite si.
Menej, málo ich asi bolo. Asi sme boli málo ambiciózni, typujem.
No, bola to 6. a 6. bola úspešná. Len pre vašu zaujímavosť, jednou z agentúr, o ktoré sme sa uchádzali, bol aj Európsky inštitút pre rodovú rovnosť. To by bolo teraz veľmi vtipné, keby to boli.
Škoda, že ju nemáme. To by bolo veľmi zaujímavé byť v diskusiách priamo na území Slovenskej republiky. Škoda.
Ten druhý aspekt, ktorý bol pomerne dôležitý, bol, že v tej dobe Slovensko patrilo malo vtedy ľavicovú vládu a vzhľadom na to, že bola sociálna agenda veľmi v popredí, tak sme boli taký, povedzme, že dobrý žiak a podporovali sme snahy únie v tejto oblasti, či už to bola reforma vysielania pracovníkov alebo reforma koordinácie systémov sociálneho zabezpečenia. A ten tretí dôvod bolo aj postavenie Bratislavy ako takej. A to znamená, že je tam tá logika, keď máme mať agentúru, ktorá podporuje pracovnú mobilitu, aby bola v centre únie, aby bola v štáte, kde pracovná mobilita nie je len teoretickým konceptom. Máme tu veľa cezhraničných regiónov a od vás počúvam, že aj veľa mobilných pracovníkov v tomto sektore. Takže toto všetko plus, a samozrejme, keďže je to Brusel, potrebujete aj politickú vôľu. A mali sme veľmi dobrú kandidatúru. Musím povedať, lebo nás zvolili hneď v prvom kole. Dostali sme hneď 20 hlasov a tým pádom sme nepripustili nejaké ďalšie hlasovanie. No a sídlíme na Landererovej, tam, kde sídli Lenovo.
Výborne, ďakujem pekne za odkrytie pozadia, ako vzniká agentúra Európskej únie na Slovensku. Tak veríme, že ste prvý, ale nie posledný. Tak verím, že odozdáte aj ďalším potenciálnym kandidátom vaše know-how, ako to tu robiť, lebo je výborné mať naozaj priamo na našom území agentúru, ktorá má celoeurópsky vplyv. Keď si rozkodujeme váš názov, je to vlastne European Labour Authority, po slovensky Európsky orgán práce. Prosím vás, čo robíte?
No a teraz to začne byť zložité. Preto sme stále európska inštitúcia. Ja by som začal tým, aby ste mali vlastne predstavu o tom, aká veľká tá agentúra je. Máme 144 zamestnancov a k tomu povedzme okolo 60 kontraktárov, dočasných pracovníkov a tak ďalej. Čiže v zásade z môjho pohľadu, aj keď sme robili tú kandidatúru, išlo o fabriku. Čiže dotiahli sme na Slovensko 200 vysoko kvalifikovaných ľudí v oblasti pracovnej mobility. Čo robíme? Veľmi zjednodušene sa dá povedať, že sa snažíme o to, čo vy využívate, čiže aby pracovná mobilita fungovala v praxi lepšie. A našou hlavnou úlohou je v tomto podporovať členské štáty a Európsku komisiu. Predpisy o pracovnej mobilite boli medzi prvými 3, ktoré prijala EÚ vo svojej histórii ešte v roku 1958, ale stále tá mobilita v EÚ nefunguje uspokojivo. Vo vašich podkladoch som sa dočítal, že 10% vašich pracovníkov je z iných krajín. Mobilita na úrovni únie, to znamená na tom najvyššom leveli, je 3,8%. Čiže my stále vidíme potenciál, ako to robiť lepšie z 2 pohľadov. Ako to robiť lepšie, ako to uľahčiť, ako znížiť administratívne bremeno pre vás, ako zlepšiť informácie o tom, ako využívať mobilitu tak, aby bola v súlade s pravidlami. No a ten druhý aspekt je práve to, aby nedochádzalo k obchádzaniu alebo porušovaniu predpisov. To nie je veľmi typické pre tento sektor, ale v iných sektoroch vidíme často, že dochádza k porušovaniu napríklad vyplácania mzdy a tak ďalej. Predsa len sami viete, keď integrujete nových ľudí, ktorí sem prídu, že sú v zraniteľnejšej pozícii, kým si navyknú na trh práce a tak ďalej. Čiže toto je náš druhý cieľ. Aby tá mobilita bola vykonávaná v súlade s právnym predpisom.
Ďakujem pekne. A z pohľadu Európska únia versus lokálne krajiny, kto sú vaši partneri v lokálnych krajinách? Aké inštitúcie?
My ako ELA našimi zákazníkmi sú inšpektoráty práce, sociálne poisťovne, to by som povedal, že sú tí hlavní, a potom sú to tí, ktorí sa povedzme podielajú na vymáhaní predpisov alebo ich lepšom uplatňovaní, úrady práce a potom v menšej miere polícia, daňové úrady a takisto aj orgány, ktoré vykonávajú inšpekcie na cestách. Čiže toto sú naši primárni zákazníci v členských štátoch. My ako ELA máme jednu obrovskú výhodu a sami viete, aká je podstatná, jasná a rýchla komunikácia vo firmách. My máme z každého členského štátu jedného človeka vele, ktorého jedinou úlohou je, ak je nejaký problém medzi členskými štátmi v tejto oblasti, spraviť tú komunikáciu neformálnou, rýchlou, agilnou a adaptabilnou, aby sa to dalo rýchlo vyriešiť a aby sa nevymieniali siahodlhé listy medzi ministerstvami.
Dobre. A viem, že fungujete v rámci Európskej únie. Máme aj cudzincov z tretích krajín. Je tam nejaký kontakt, nejaký vzťah aj s krajinami Európskej únie a s vašou agentúrou?
To, čo som počul dnes v prvom paneli, vlastne potvrdzuje ten trend, ktorý vidíme my. My keď sme vznikli, tak v zásade jedným z dôvodov, videli sme na pozadí toho nejaký boj medzi Západom a Východom a prelievanie tej pracovnej sily z Východu na Západ. Čo vidíme teraz, je, že sa to posúva do inej roviny, to znamená, že sami vidíme obrovský prílev štátnych príslušníkov tretích krajín na trh práce v EÚ, čo súvisí aj s tým, čo sami viete, že je obrovský problém s dopytom po kvalifikovanej pracovnej sile. My za týmto účelom spolupracujeme s tretími krajinami, ako príklad je Ukrajina, Moldavsko, kde sa to pomaly rozvíja. A naša hlavná agenda v tejto oblasti je, povedzme, že nový spôsob, ktorý vidíme, pokiaľ ide o príchod štátnych príslušníkov tretích krajín na trh práce. Máte to klasické, ťažké pracovné povolenie, ale je aj cesta, vďaka ktorej štátny príslušník tretej krajiny sa dostane na územie únie, povedzme v Poľsku, a aj automaticky vysielaní do iných krajín a vykonávať prácu. Toto je trend, ktorý sa výrazne zvyšuje. Je to jednoduchšia cesta, je to cesta zatiaľ legálna, ktorá je umožnená zmluvami a tuto vykonávame našu hlavnú funkciu.
Vynikajúci príklad, ďakujem pekne. Možno to vieme aplikovať do našej praxe, lebo vieme, že u nás tá mobilita zamestnancov je téma, ktorou sa zaoberáme. Dali ste už jeden príklad veľmi výborný, praktický. Keď sa na to pozriem z pohľadu zamestnanca z nejakej krajiny v Európskej únii, aká je situácia, by mohla nastať, že by sa priamo obrátil na vás? Kedy by sa nejaký človek, ja neviem, z Bulharska, ktorý pracuje na Slovensku, mal obrátiť na vašu agentúru priamo?
My by sme si veľmi prijali, aby takéto situácie neboli. Prečo? Lebo by to vlastne bol dôkaz toho, že buď nie sú žiadne problémy, čo je asi nereálne, ale minimálne to, že tie informácie, ktoré tí pracovníci majú vo svojich členských štátoch, sú v jazyku a sú spísané spôsobom, ktorému rozumejú. Žiaľ, toto ešte nie je ten prípad, preto veľká časť našich aktivít sa práve zameriava na zvyšovanie povedomia pracovníkov o tom, čo sú ich práva a povinnosti, keď vykonávajú pracovnú mobilitu, ale rovnako to uplatňujeme aj vo vzťahu k zamestnávateľom a vo vašom prípade je to najviac relevantné napríklad, keď je nejaká nová legislatíva, ktorá sa príjme na úrovni únie v tejto oblasti, ktorú vy budete musieť implementovať a my vám to chceme uľahčiť. Dám príklad, ktorý paradoxne pôjde do budúcnosti. V súčasnosti sa v Bruseli rokuje nástroj, ktorý sa volá tak pekne, že e-declaration. Tí, ktorí robíte s vysielaním pracovníkom, viete, že keď chcete pracovníka vyslať do iného štátu, tak musíte poslať notifikáciu do národného systému a keďže sme v Únii, tak tých národných systémov je asi 27. Toto by to malo zjednotiť. Tento systém by mal byť jednotný, ak sa to dorokuje budúci rok. A následne nastúpi naša rola, naša úloha, kde budeme robiť nielen informačné kampane, ale aj konkrétne stretnutia pre zamestnávateľov, aby sme im povedali, ako tento systém bude fungovať, čo musia splniť, ako to musia robiť, aby sa vyhli sankciám. Nie je to len teoretický koncept, rovnako sme postupovali v prípade cestnej dopravy, kde takýto systém už je zavedený a tam myslím, že ten náš príspevok bol pomerne podstatný.
Výborne, ďakujeme pekne. A posledná otázka. Čo môže naša komunita robiť pre vás? Alebo aký spôsob výmeny informácií by ste preferovali? Berieme to ako nejaký nový krok priameho dialogu, tak povedzte, čo by ste od nás očakávali, ako môžeme pomôcť, aby sme potom pomohli na konci väčšej migrácii.
Pre mňa je obrovským plusom, že som tu. A nie len preto, že ste biznis ako taký, ale asi vás neprekvapí, že ten biznis, s ktorým my pracujeme, sú viac menej manuálni pracovníci, tam, kde tie rizika ohrozenia tých pracovných podmienok sú väčšie. Ale chceme vstúpiť aj do tejto sféry. Pre mňa, čo je podstatné, je, aby sme dostávali podnety z vašej strany. Kde vidíte, že to nefunguje? Čo potrebujete? Kde vidíte, že sa treba zväčšiť mobilitu? Treba ju zvýšiť. A toto by bolo pre nás veľkým prínosom. Všetci máme problém s pracovnou silou, teda hlavne vy. 80% členských štátov alebo 80% firiem nám vykazuje, že nemá tú pracovnú silu, ktorú by chcelo. Jednou z vecí, ktoré my vieme robiť pre vás, je, že robíme každý rok mapovanie toho, kde sú najväčšie nedostatky, ale kde sú aj prebytky pracovnej sily. Čiže tiež, kde viete hľadať zdroje, v akých povolaniach. Čiže toto je tiež niečo, čo my vieme dať vám, ale pre nás je veľmi podstatné, keďže našim účelom je podporiť praktické vykonávanie pravidiel, mať podnety od vás a prípadne aj na nejakých ďalších stretnutiach, kde vy vidíte z praktického pohľadu, keďže sme založení Bruselom, máme nejaký odstup, kde by sme vedeli vám pomôcť a zlepšiť tú situáciu, aby nedostatočné fungovanie pracovnej mobility nebolo dôvodom na to, že nie je využívaná. Pretože to je pre vás podstatné, aby ste mali ten talent, ktorý potrebujete.
Výborne, ďakujem pekne, čiže verím, že túto hodenú rukavicu zdvihneme a začneme sa rozprávať priamo a urýchľovať migráciu v rámci EÚ. Ďakujem pekne za tento príspevok a za náš rozhovor a prajem všetko dobré a opäť sa určite na nejakom fóre vidíme. Ďakujem pekne.
Ďakujem pekne.
Tak, spoločná fotografia ešte poprosíme, spoločnú fotku. Tam, tak. Pred stolíkom. Krásne. Ďakujeme veľmi pekne, Lucii. A prestávka, dámy a páni. Yes, áno, 30 minút je pre vás a po 30 minútach, kolegovia, Vidíme sa naspäť pri aktivitách, na ktoré určite nezabudnete.
Weren't your tires leaving me in the dust? If you weren't the kind that you only find once, and the burn of the suburban wouldn't be hurting so bad. Girl, you were for certain the best thing I ever had. Bar none. Now I'm getting goner than your long gone boots. Nothing I'm working on works on you. I've been breaking every bottle open, doing what a banged up broken heart does. I'm gonna need 3 or 4 more, baby, if I'm moving on, had a scoreboard. Say you and your memory won, me in this bar, none. Me in this bar, me in this bar, none. Yeah, me and them bottles up on that shelf. Never had a problem getting over anyone else. Yeah, the lowest low I ever had's right now, no doubt, hands down, bar none. Now I'm getting goner than your long gone boots. Nothing I'm working on works on you. I've been breaking every bottle open, doing what a banged up broken heart does. I'm gonna need 3 or 4 more, baby, if I'm moving on, had a scoreboard. Say you and your memory won, me in this bar, none. Me in this bar, me in this bar, none. Yeah, I'm putting 90 to the test. Damn, I still don't miss you less. Bet tomorrow's hangover is gonna be the worst one yet. Bar none. Now I'm getting goner than your long gone boots. Nothing I'm working on works on you. I've been breaking every bottle open, doing rise and shine, feeling fine, morning light. Greet the gifts of dawn, open arms and eyes, shed the veil we wore, eagles disguised, only to find we're rearranging, only to find it's ever changing. It's good for your heart and mind. Morning light, can you see it? Rise and shine, open your eyes, feeling fine. Shadows will fade away. Morning light, bringing a new day. The sun sets down in another town. See the moon rise. Life on the other side. A mirror of the highest high. Dance of creation. Stars burning bright. Sending out healing vibration. It's good for your heart and mind. Morning light, can you see it? Rise and shine, open your eyes, feeling fine. Shadows will fade away. Morning light, bringing a new day. Can you see it? Rise and shine. Open your eyes. Feeling fine. Shadows will fade away. Morning light, bringing a new day. Morning light. Can you see it? Rise and shine. Just open your eyes. Feeling fine. Shadows will fade away. Morning light, bringing a new day. can't seem to shake the black crow from my shoulder. Out here it's so cold. These dark skies watching over. Wait for sunrise. Wish this black crow would just leave me alone. Oh no, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, take me from this thundercloud. Pull me up from the frozen ground. Yes, this world keeps turning. It's so easy to stray when you can't see the love around. In this life, there are things that we just can't be without. I can't seem to shake the black crow from my shoulder. Out here it's so cold. These dark skies washing over. Wait for sunrise. Wish this black crow would just leave me alone. No, 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 leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Oh, just leave me alone. I can't seem to shake the black crow from my shoulder. Out here it's so cold. if I can't let you go, will darkness divide? For the fiction of love is the truth of our lives. We were playing for keeps, but we both knew the cost. Now the only way out in your heart-shaped box. But I hate that it seems you were never enough. We were broken and bleeding, but never gave up. And I hate that I made you the enemy. And I hate that your heart was the casualty. Now I hate that I need you. As we rest here alone, like notes on a page, the finest to compose could not play our pain. With a candle through time, I could still see your ghost, but I can't close my eyes for it. For it is there where you haunt me, where you love me. I hate that it seemed you were never enough. We were broken and bleeding, but never gave up. And I hope that I sing through your memory as we echo through time in the melody. Now I hate that I need you, and I hear you when you said it, but it had to fall apart to work. As I see you now in what's left of me, is it too late to create sanity? 'Cause I hate that it seemed you were never enough. Yeah, we're broken and bleeding in the name of love. And I hope that we meet in another life. I hope that we meet in another life. I don't hate that I need you. I don't hate that I need you. I don't hate that I need you.
Dámy a páni, gong oznámil, že už len minútu na to, aby sme mohli pokračovať v našom programe. Už len minútu, aby sme sa vrhli do druhej polovice dnešného predpoludnia. A už len minútu na to, aby nás delila 1,5 hodiny od vysnívaného obeda. Tak. Áno, je ťažké, minúta je asi strašne málo, chápem tomu. Networking je dôležitý, ale postupnými krokmi dá sa prichádzať naspäť na miesto a dá sa preniesť svoju pozornosť na to, čo sa bude diať na pódiu. Verím, že posilnený, občerstvený, saturovaný všetkými potrebami aj pracovnými, po veľmi dôležitých kóloch, odpisovaní na maily, určite budete pripravení na to, čo sa bude diať ďalej. Tak, dámy a páni, postupne kritická väčšina sa vracia na svoje miesta, ale naozaj iba postupne. Zvukové signály oznamujú, ale nič to, ľudská vôľa je ľudská vôľa. S tou veľa nenarobíme. Tak, už sa to postupne utícha, áno, áno, krásne. Nádherné. A vyzerá to tak, že celé publikum je pripravené na niečo, čo pravdepodobne ste ešte nemali na tomto fóre. A ja by som poprosil Vlado, kde si, keby mohol k nám prísť a ideme si dať malý energizer. Malý energizer pred tou hodinou a pol, ktorá nás ešte čaká. Poprosím vás, keby ste sa všetci tak, ako ste, že skúste sa podstaviť. Naozaj, vyskúšajte sa postaviť. Aj tí, ktorí prichádzate, normálne sa akože postavte, dajte preč všetko z rúk, nebudete to vôbec potrebovať. Tak, vynikajúce všetko preč z rúk a skúste si nájsť vedľa seba kolegu, kolegyňu, partnera, partnerku, s ktorým sa postavíte takto oproti seba, ako my sme tuto s Vladom. Vyskúšajte, áno. Tak, vynikajúce. Dobre. Tak, priatelia, tí, ktorí nemáte, nájdite si, ak sa to dá, ak nie, tak nebojte sa, je tu na to dostatočne veľa času. Čo ideme robiť? Ideme robiť veľmi jednoduchým spôsobom, že ideme počítať do 3. Ideme počítať do 3. Veľmi jednoducho, nasledovne. 1, 3. 2, 1, 3. Vidíte, že je to úplne jednoduché. Tým, že sa ideme baviť v ďalšej časti o talentoch, nebojte sa, toto není screening vašich talentov, ale vyskúšajte. Má to 3 podmienky. Pozeráte sa do očí, máte takto upažené ruky a robíte to čo najrýchlejšie. Čo najrýchlejšie počítajte 1, 2, 3. Nech sa páči, môžete ísť na to. 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, OK. Poď, rýchlejšie, skúste rýchlejšie. Vyskúšajte, áno, toto je veľmi oficiálne fórum, vidím to. Jasné, OK, perfektné. Dobre, ďakujem. Kto sa nepomýlil? Dobre, super. Tak, ideme to dať ešte ťažšie trošičku. Namiesto dvojky teraz ideme robiť jednu vec, že namiesto dvojky nebudeme dávať dvojku, ale budeme tlieskať. To znamená, že bude 1, 3. No a vidíte, a nech sa páči, čím rýchlejšie, tým lepšie. Páči sa. Neuvažujte, na čo to je, proste je to svet, ktorý prináša takéto okolnosti. Vynikajúce. Díky. Dobre. Tak, stále rýchlejšie, lepšie. Nebráňte sa tomu, ani nepremýšľajte. Je to proste tak. Posledný upgrade. Namiesto trojky, čo budeme robiť, pričom stále platí 1, tak namiesto trojky si vyskočíme, pre dámy, ktoré máte opätky, aspoň trošku, že takto sa nadvihnúť, ak je to možné. Dobre? Takže ideme 1. Presne, toto je ten cieľ. Nech sa páči. Posledné kolo. 1. Nie. OK. Dobre, dámy a páni, ďakujem veľmi pekne, nech sa páči. Díky moc, Vlado. Ďakujem moc. OK, priatelia. ideme do ďalšej časti, ktorá sa bude... Malé, môžete to robiť všade na party, robte to s deťmi, robte to s dospelými, je to jedno najväčší kotol, ktorý sme takto boli schopní zabaviť, bolo 500 ľudí, takže je to v poriadku. Ale naspäť k našej konferencii, naspäť k našej časti, privítajme Petra Rusiňáka po druhýkrát na stage, ktorý privíta svojich hostí, s ktorými sa bude baviť o talente, ktorý je naozaj to najdôležitejšou súčasťou našich servisných centier, pretože to je jediné prakticky, čo máme in matter of fact. Peter, floor is yours.
Ďakujem, Juraj, ďakujem veľmi pekne. Myslím, že sme úspešne všetci práve urobili základnú skúšku do práce, takže veľká vďaka, perfektné. Priatelia, budeme sa dneska baviť v talentovej časti, to je to naše druhé písmenko T z dnešného programu, o globálnom talente. Slovensko nie je uzavreté v nejakých nepriepustných hraniciach. Sme súčasťou globálnej scény. Business centra na Slovensku sú súčasťou globálneho industry of shared services, keď to môžem takto povedať. Budeme sa však aj baviť v tejto časti o tom, ako centra na Slovensku reagujú na tú aktuálnu situáciu s talentom, s globálnym talentom a teším sa, že máme aj veľmi také pekné, užitočné príklady toho, ako firmy môžu vyvíjať a udržiavať svoj vlastný talent na Slovensku. Takže dámy a páni, nebudem na to sám. Privítajte prosím Lucia Gogová, Country HR Partner IBM. Poď sem. Ďakujem. Vítaj Luci. Vítam aj Sandra Balažíková, Head of Human Resources ING Hubs Slovensko. Sem, nech sa páči. Janka Tomková, Employer Branding and Marketing DXC.
Logistika.
Máme náročnú úlohu si sadnúť pod fotky, ale nevychádza to. 1 ku 5 nie je také jednoduché. A Michal Benček, Head Strategic Development z Vizre. Michal, vítaj takisto medzi nami. No,
Nechce si opačne? To je takto 1, 2 skok?
Ja viem, ja som ten, ktorý to kazí, tú peticu.
Dobre.
Sandra
ja som ten, ktorý to
také
kazí.
stavy už tam predtým, že to nesedelo, tak nás usadila hneď.
Kognitívna dizonancia, vieš?
Presne tak. Vydržíme to pol hodinku. Dúfam, že takto. V prvom paneli Carlos so svojimi rečníkmi sa pýtal našich členských firiem aj to, že či ich viac trápi znižovanie nákladov, alebo tvorba tej pridanej hodnoty na konci dňa. Ja som zvedavý, prosím, na vás, čo vás budí zo sna. Čo je to, s čím sa preberáte? Je to dostupnosť talentu, alebo je to aktuálny skill set toho talentu? Sandri, nech sa páči.
Tak keďže sme si to vyskúšali, to 1, 2, 3, tak úplne autenticky. Momentálne, čo ma naozaj budí, neviem, či to máme kolegov z Ernst & Young. Máme? Nemáme, dobre. Momentálne ma budí, možno je to také premostenie, dostatok, skillset, alebo či je ten dostatok talentu. Momentálne riešime, ako dostať naozaj talenty z tretích krajín, kde napríklad nemáme podpísané, volá sa to, že treaty, teraz budem znieť strašne múdro, a nejaké cost coverage práve za tých ľudí, ktorých máme identifikovaných ako high potential a nie sú tam podpísané nejaké medzištátne zmluvy. Máme momentálne takú situáciu, že máme zamestnankyňu, ktorá už u nás bola 3 roky na vyslení ako talent a už u nás nie a my stále ešte nemáme doľadené základné veci práve preto, že tam či už nejaká podpora, čo sa týka nejakého zákonodárstva nie je, alebo mohlo by to byť flexibilné, takže to je momentálne ono. Ale veľmi som si užívala tú debatu, aj sme sa potom rozprávali, že veľa vecí povedali, čo by sme aj my povedali. Takže ja môžem naozaj, vo mne to veľmi zarezonovalo a môžem povedať, že sme práve v takej situácii, asi ako možno väčšina nejakých expertných centier alebo biznis centier, že naozaj to premostenie práve na tú expertízu existuje, lebo nejaká taká nákladová vojna naozaj už nie je na vyhranie, aby som to povedala, že to už naozaj nedáme, čo sa týka v podstate nejakých entry-level pracovných pozícií. Ale na druhej strane tam bola taká provokatívna otázka, že netvárme sa, že, ako to bolo, že účtovník bude AI implementátor.
Z večera do rána ho nespravíš.
Z večera do rána ho nespravím, ale to by som napríklad poukázala, že nie je firma ako firma. Napríklad u nás, tým, že ja začnem troška aj predstavím firmu, lebo viem si predstaviť, že veľa ľudí hovorí, čo ona rozpráva z tej poisťovni. Nie sme poisťovňa. Sme expertné centrum vlastne pre veľkú globálnu banku, kde naozaj klienti musia mať či od 500 miliónov obrat, to sa ešte dá spraviť, alebo od 500 miliónov zisk. Čiže keď si predstavíme, že u nás je v podstate, môžeme to nazvať nejaký analytik ako entry-level pozícia, niekoho, kto spracováva platby, hovoríme o miliardách. Čiže naozaj aj ten jeden, ktorý si povieme, že to sa dá automatizovať, vždy máme nejaký 4-eye check, vždy máme nejaký 6-eye check. Keď hovoríme o veľkých klientoch, musíme pozerať niekoľkokrát, to jednoducho už odznelo, sankčné zoznamy, ktoré sa menili na týždennej báze, klienti, ktorých si vieme predstaviť, akých sú v akých pozíciách. Čiže nemôžeme povedať, že všetko sa dá zautomatizovať. Napríklad aj nejaké globálne alerty, ktoré už sú zautomatizované, vždy to príde k tomu danému človeku, aby to vyhodnotil. Hej? Čiže nejaký ten final judgment call stále je ešte na tom zamestnancovi. Okay. A tým, už dám poslednú vetu, dohodli sme sa, že keď dostane mikrofón, treba mi ho potom zobrať. Ale chcem vlastne na to aj premostiť, tým, že tá spoločnosť je tak strašne špecifická, nevieme tých ľudí samozrejme nájsť ani na univerzitách, ani, dajme tomu, mám tu kolegov zo Swissre, tým pádom ich pozdravujem. Môžeme ešte nájsť nejaké podobné finančné profily. Ľudská.
Ešte jeden
tam, dobre. Ale už sme sa v piatok dohodli, že nebudeme si nejako poučovať a talentov. Čiže samozrejme pre nás, aby som odpovedala na tvoju otázku, to budovanie toho skillsetu alebo tej capabilities je otázka, dajme tomu, aj nejakého prežitia v podstate na tom trhu a dodania tej pridanej hodnoty. A úplne posledné, veľmi sa mi páčila prezentácia z PwC, ktorý hovoril o capability. Veľakrát už tu odznelo, že máme nejaké globálne transformačné role, máme nejaké globálne change management role. My máme dokonca už 6 globálnych rolí, tzv. Capability hub lead, hej, čo je absolútne super, lebo ľudia u nás zo Slovenska rozhodujú presne na základe akých capability, ktoré kde sú na trhu, ktorá, dajme tomu, tá práca tam pôjde a nie sú v pozícii nejakého location heada. Čiže to, čo tu všetko nejako odznelo, sa deje momentálne na tej spoločnosti.
Chápem, ale spávaš dobre napriek tomu.
No keď vyriešime tých zamestnancov z tretích krajín, tak budeme ešte lepšie.
No, Michal, vy ste ich vo Swissre vyriešili? Budí ťa to ešte zo sna? Alebo je situácia trošku iná u vás, ako hovorí Sandra?
No, v prvom rade ďakujem za pozvanie. Ja som veľmi rád, že môžem byť v takejto milej spoločnosti. A tá otázka, že čo nás budí zo sna, tak to môže byť 1000 vecí. Ja trošku odbočím, pretože ja si myslím, že pri tých náročných biznisových a osobných životoch je už úspech, malý úspech, keď pokojne spávame a dúfam, že teda viacerí z nás pokojne spávajú. No a tá otázka, ja to beriem tak, že to je humorná úvodná otázka. Ja som mal kedysi také zvláštne hobby, že pred spaním som počúval hororové poviedky a neviem, čo to o mne ako osobe hovorí, že Lovecraft a Baker a podobne. A tam existuje taká zaujímavá definícia pekla. Jedna z takých zaujímavejších je, že človek stretne tú verziu seba, ktorá vlastne naplno využila svoj potenciál a vlastne, keď to inými slovami poviem, že stretnem niekoho, kto dosiahol všetko, čo som ja mohol a nedosiahol. A my v tomto kontexte aj tých zručností a talentu a efektívnosti a vytvárania hodnoty veľakrát spomíname teraz technológiu, ktorej meno zámerne nepoviem. A zistili sme postupne, že to je viac ako nejaký Google na steroidoch a že ten potenciál práve v tých činnostiach, ktoré my vykonávame, ktoré veľakrát úprimne si povedzme sú repetitívne, manuálne, založené na presne definovaných pravidlách, môže dramaticky zmeniť situáciu. A keď tak sa prenesiem, že zjednodušene poviem, že keď sa pozriem na naše rôzne firmy v tejto lokácii, alebo aj na rôzne lokácie v rámci našej firmy, si trúfam odvážne povedať, že úroveň pripravenosti alebo nepripravenosti tými zručnosťami na túto technológiu je v podstate rovnaká alebo podobná. A takéto peklo, ktoré ja vidím, je, že keď sa tu stretneme o rok alebo o 3, tak si povieme, že bože, však my sme nevyužili všetky ten potenciál tých zručností v rámci tejto technológie, ktorý máme k dispozícii.
Máme tu v publiku aj viacero ľudí z univerzít, takže aby sme sa za 3 roky nestretli všetci v tom pekle, určite už je teraz dobré sa s tými ľuďmi rozprávať a priamo sa prepájať, lebo je to možno jedna z ciest, ako sa to trošku dá. Jani, premostím k tebe. Vy ste ako technologická firma, ktorá možno, že na prvú si človek povie IT, technológie, všetko, prečo na školách to trvá všetko hrozne dlho, kým pripravíme človeka a tak, ale vy ste možno zvolili takú stratégiu, že poďme sa na ten talent. Tu je to komplikované na tom globále. Ak si vieme pomôcť nejako lokálne, poďme sa na neho pozrieť už aj od tej základnej školy a vy to máte veľmi dobre zmáknuté, čo sa týka tej práce s talentom. Budí ťa to ešte zo sna? Michal nespáva dobre, Sandra trošku, tak...
Ak by som sa mala, v prvom rade dobrý deň a ďakujem za pozvanie. Ak by som to mala zovšeobecniť, tak by som iba k tomu akože pridala hlavne to, že naozaj že schopnosť využiť potenciál toho talentu. Už keď to máme na takých naozaj že aj korporátnych a veľkých korporáciách a vy, ktorí tu sedíte, veľa z vás sú takmer všetci veľké korporácie, väčšina, tak to je vždy to, že či tam tí moji kolegovia budú a či ja tam budem mať aj nových kolegov, ktorí mi prinesú ten talent, ktorý ja potrebujem. Ja tu v pozícii employer branding človeka, ktorý zasahuje úplne minimálne do HR ako takej, pracujem s tými ľuďmi priamo. Čiže moja nočná mora je len to, že či budeme tých našich všetkých skúsených ľudí, nielen v rámci DXCčka, lebo my tam máme naozaj veľký potenciál ľudí, naozaj je tam veľa talentov, či teda my naozaj vplyvom tých zmien, to je jedno, aké tu budú, či sú to spoločenské, alebo to je trh, alebo sú to nové technológie, ktoré nebudeme spomínať, sme spomínali, či ich budeme vedieť využiť, utilizovať, ako ich využijeme. A my teda sme sa rozhodli pár rokov dozadu, už sú to 4, že začneme tie vzdelávacie projekty robiť už úplne od toho mladého veku, od základnej školy. A preto sme sa nechali trošku ovplyvniť platformou, ktorá riešila síce učiteľov, lebo ja chcem aj o tomto trošku možno povedať, tak toto sme začali pretavovať do toho študentského, do toho žiackého. Tak sme si vytvorili projekt, ktorý vlastne obsahovo trošku zasahuje do toho možno aj učiteľského prostredia, ale do toho technologického a do toho detského, do toho žiackého. A spravili sme projekt zážitkovej hodiny informatiky. DXOčko asi poznáte, keďže ste tu všetci, je tu tých 41 členov AmChamu, čiže ja by som teda o tom nechcela to veľmi rozberať, ale je to úplne v praxi prevedené, ako deti dokážu využívať technológie v praxi. A moji kolegovia ambasádori, ktorí sa venujú poväčšine v iných pozíciách, proste iným prácam, veľa z nich tam je manažerov alebo people manažerov, vlastne učia deti a sú lektormi. A ja sama som lektorom vlastne na tejto platforme, alebo teda v tomto programe. A je to úžasné. A ja dúfam, že viacero možno firiem, organizácií a kohokoľvek iného bude vedieť takéto veci vidieť, robiť, vidieť tie výsledky, že tým deťom dokážete dať tie technológie a tie zručnosti už od mladého veku.
Dostaneme sa ešte k tým konkrétnym príkladom. Ja som to publiku slúbil, takže vás nepustím bez toho, aby ste povedali konkrétne veci, ako sa o ten talent svoj staráte. Luci, ešte otázka pre teba. Ako to povedať? Rozmýšľam, že u vás už nejaký akože hiring vo veľkom nie je asi témou dňa. Čo je to, ak sa pozrieme na globálny talent, vojnu o ten globálny talent, čo je tou témou u vás, tou hlavnou?
U nás je hlavná téma transformácia a automatizácia, digitalizácia procesov. Keď sa pozrieme na takú mantru, ktorú máme v IBM, je to eliminate, simplify, automate. Čiže to aj hovorí o tom, aké sú tie jednodenné činnosti, ktoré robíme, na ktoré sa zameriavame. A v zásade je to o tom, ako ten talent, ako s ním pracovať, aby technológie, ktoré máme k dispozícii, boli využívané. Keďže sa ma neopýtalo, ako som ja spala, ja by som len chcela premostiť, že v zásade takú filozofickú otázku, ako pracovať s technológiami budúcnosti, s našim mozgom, ktorý je ešte z čias lovcov a zberačov a inštitúciami stredoveku. Toto je taká filozofická otázka v zmysle, máme tu talenty, ale stále pracujeme s mozgom, ktorý máme historicky, tisíc rokov. Neurobiológia, veľmi teraz populárna. X ľudí sa tým zaoberá, ako motivovať ľudí. Máme tu technológiu, vieme, že potrebujeme veci automatizovať, simplifikovať, digitalizovať a máme ľudí, ktorí neúplne všetci zdvíhajú hore ruky, ideme do toho.
Hej.
Takže to je challenge, ktorým teraz...
To je veľmi veľký challenge. Premostím to ešte znova na ten prvý panel, čo sme počuli od našich predrečníkov. A využijem trošku dáta, ktoré máme v našich brožúrkach. Dlhodobo sa náš sektor pohybuje niekde zhruba na 9-10% cudzincov pracujúcich v našich centrách tu na Slovensku. Je to niečo cez 3000 ľudí, keď to vyjadrím. Zhruba polovica, 55% ľudia z Európskej únie, zvyšok z tretích krajín. Keď sa ale pozriem na krajiny okolo nás, minimálne si región, tak vidíme, že ten pomer cudzincov v rámci centier v danej krajine je na Slovensku výrazne nižší v porovnaní s Českom, Litvou, Rumunskom a podobne. Všetci sme v tej vojne o ten globálny talent. Máš možno nejaký názor na to, že prečo na Slovensku je ten pomer takýto nižší? Je tu niečo špecifické na Slovensku, čo robíme inak ako iné krajiny? Prečo je tu toho talentu menej? Zahraničného.
Ja by som to dala do takého kontextu. Ešte pred covidom my sme reportovali počet cudzincov 15 až 20%. Čiže teraz reportujeme 9-10%. Samozrejme covid do toho veľmi zasiahol. Cudzinci odchádzali zo Slovenska. A v zásade, keď vidíme náš segment trhu, naše spoločnosti moc nehajrujú. Čiže hiring, ktorý sme mali pred covidom, kde sme napríklad IBM ročne plus 500 ľudí hajrovali, tak to už sme úplne dávno niekde inde, ako to už kolegyňa z Johnson Control spomínala, už sme dospeli naše spoločnosti, takže už sa teraz fakt pozeráme na to, ako ľudí, ktorých máme interne upskillovať, reskillovať, aby vedeli technológie používať, aby sa zautomatizovali procesy. Čiže už aj vlastne týmto, aká je situácia, status quo, je logické, že nenaberáme až toľko cudzincov, lebo už zvonku toľko talentu nepotrebujeme. Samozrejme, stále ich hajrujeme, stále máme ľudí z Európskej únie alebo z non-EU, ale nie je to už štatisticky významné.
Rozumiem.
Takže čo robia ostatné krajiny? Poľsko, no teraz je Poľsko ekonomický tiger. Ja sa so svojou kolegyňou z Poľsku o tom bavím, čo robia.
Hej.
Je to niekoľko faktorov, ale je to vlastne aj o tom brandingu, o ktorom kolegovia hovorili a vlastne pracovať na tom brandingu Slovenska, lebo keď sa vlastne bavíme o tom, že aká je pracovná sila, napríklad konkurenčná výhoda Slovákov versus Poliakov, ako pracovníci kultúrne dostávame lepšie feedbacky než napríklad Poliaci, alebo aj Maďari, čo sú u nás vlastne taká najväčšia konkurencia.
Na kvalitu výstupu alebo